Very good morning to you all tuned in here to the 9 till noon show. It's Michaela Clarke in for Greg Hughes this morning, and welcome along to everybody who's watching our live stream as well. You can do so by logging on to our website highlandradio.com, and also it is available on all our social media platforms. We are here until 12 noon and we've lots to come. To get in touch as usual, you can give us a call on 07491 25000. You can text or WhatsApp at 086 60 25000 or email comments at highlandradio.com. To start though, we're going to have a look at the papers today, starting with the Irish Daily Star, and the headline there is Fire and Fury, which perfectly sums up what happened outside the City West Hotel in Sagart last night. So a mob attacked Gardaí outside the City West Asylum Centre last night as fear and anger spread after a man appeared in court charged with sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl. Taoiseach Micheál Martin told the Dáil the state failed in its duty to the child who was in the care of Tusla when she absconded at the weekend. Peaceful protesters gathered near the scene of the alleged incident in the South Dublin village of Sagart before violence flared and a Garda van was set ablaze and fireworks shot at riot Gardaí. I'm sure a lot of you have seen these videos, and it was just chaos. That headline's perfect, Fire and Fury. Obviously this stems from an alleged attack on a young child, and people want to protect their children, and people are rightfully angry at this, and they want action taken and an end put to these sort of attacks. But I just think that there could be a different way that this could be communicated. You could see the Gardaí, there didn't seem to be, there was one line of them, they were in the riot gear, but I could only imagine if all them protesters made their way forward, where would the Gardaí be there? Would there have been enough resources to hold them back? But the danger that it posed to those involved in the protest as well, there was videos of fireworks being fired at Gardaí, and I could see people at the front and they were videoing on their phones, and they could have easily been hit by the firework. A lot more could have been seriously injured. One Garda has been injured, and there were 6 people arrested. A Garda van was set on fire. But it just begs to question as well the motive behind the majority of people here, or majority of people that did attend the protest. I saw some videos, reporters were speaking to locals who lived there, and they were saying, they were given their experience, and, they just wanted to come out and show support as well. But surely there were other people there that, used it just as an excuse to engage in riotous behaviour. But yeah, obviously it is a huge conversation that has been ongoing for some time, and, something does need to be done to address the concerns of those who, rightfully or wrongfully organised the protest with the proper intent. But yeah, it's just, is this the right way to go about it? Is this going to see the government deliver change? But hopefully there's no more violent scenes like this and no more injuries caused to anybody. But it's still, I understand as well the serious concerns among people, and that does need to be addressed as well. Moving to the Irish Daily Star, Humphreys accuses Galway TD of hypocrisy. So Heather Humphreys last night accused Catherine Connolly of hypocrisy for representing banks against ordinary homeowners. Ms Connolly claimed she was not able to talk about individual cases because of client confidentiality, a claim rejected by Ms Humphreys. Ms Humphreys repeatedly pushed her on whether she worked on repossession cases and accused her of hypocrisy in criticising banks in the Dáil and at council level. During last night's final presidential debate on RTE's Primetime, Ms Connolly said the allegation was extraordinary, adding that the courts made decisions based on government policy which allowed them to repossess. Ms Humphreys then accused her of talking out of both sides of her mouth. I think Catherine Connolly has, confirmed that she can't disclose exactly the detail of who she represented, etc. But people have come out in support of her and said that, that was her job. She wasn't picking and choosing whose home was going to be repossessed. Did you watch the debate last night? I just feel that there's so little interest in this presidential election, and I suppose it follows, we had the local and general election last year, and there was such it was great. It was an exciting time for everybody. Did you watch the presidential debate on RT Primetime last night? What did you think? Is there any front runner for you? I know Catherine Connolly's leading in the polls. Did either candidate swing you? Did they change? Maybe you were supporting Catherine Connolly. Maybe you've now changed to Heather Humphreys. Let us know by getting in touch. And as well, do you feel that there is a momentum? Are you interested in this presidential election? We do have a debate coming up very, very shortly. We have two students from the ATU's Law Society, so they'll be arguing why they're standing behind one candidate over the other. So make sure to stay tuned for that. The Irish Times now. Advancements in artificial intelligence bring significant ethical, legal, regulatory and professional challenges for doctors, the sector's regulatory body has said. AI is increasingly being used across the health system, particularly for medical imaging and diagnostics, with the Mater Hospital in Dublin earlier this year launching a new centre for AI and digital health. Yesterday, the Medical Council published a position paper stating AI offers the potential to improve patient outcomes, streamline processes and support evidence-based care. However, the regulator said that while the technology can assist with diagnostics and treatment recommendations, doctors must have confidence in the standard of the tool they are utilising. I do think AI has great potential, but I do think it's going to be a long time before in certain circumstances it's implemented properly. I don't know if I would have the full confidence now to, in AI being used in the healthcare, in terms of, I suppose, reading x-rays and then recommending further treatment. But it has the potential if it's used properly. I've seen so many examples of if the model is trained, by you're giving it the information that you want it to know, like you're doing the work for it anyway, but it just can be your assistant later down the line when it's fully trained. It can help you then, and I suppose make things quicker in terms of, say, reading these x-rays, but you would have to train it so much. And I suppose maybe the healthcare sector needs to be more transparent in how they've trained it and what exactly it's being used for. I don't know if I would fully trust if I know I've had an x-ray and an AI model has read it and, recommended the next steps, because I would use AI maybe more as a search engine as opposed to other platforms now, and I maybe will know the general thing that I'm searching, but I just want, maybe it confirmed and the information that it's happened more recently as opposed to when I started using it, but it's spitting out, stuff that's completely off, no relevance to what I am searching. So that is a bit concerning. I thought that the models would have been improving a lot more rather than digressing. The Sun now, abandon events if wind risk. You will have heard Donna Marie reference this in our news bulletin. So public events should be cancelled in areas under orange wind warnings, according to a review published after Storm Éowyn hit in January. Éowyn was one of the most destructive storms in Ireland, with gusts of up to 184 km per hour. Yesterday, the National Directorate of Fire and Emergency Management published a series of recommendations in its review of the storm. On public events, the report states it is recommended that event organisers should cancel events in areas where an orange wind warning threshold is forecast. Event sites and fun fairs with temporary structures of all kinds may need to be considered for closure at a lower threshold, which should be set by the event organiser. Particularly fun fairs, we've all seen how strong those winds can be under an orange weather warning, and sometimes it could just be too late, especially fun fairs, and people are up on a height and elevated in the air. That I do agree with that. And Councillor Thomas Sean Devine of the 100% Redress Party, he recently had a motion before the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District, and he argued in relation to defective block homeowners that, rather than waiting for the red weather warning to be issued, that processes should be put in place at orange level to ensure that homeowners are housed safely. Because we've seen recently during Storm Amy how quickly that was upgraded from orange to red. I think it was a 2-hour warning 2-hour notice that was given before the warning came in to place. And, that's not enough for some people. The Irish Independent now. Owners of electric vehicles in Ireland are paying hundreds of euro more to charge their cars at home than drivers across Europe. The gap between Irish EV charging prices and those in Spain works out at almost €400 a year for people who top up their cars during the day, according to research by Dundee Cars. Lower night rates for those with smart meters were not factored into the analysis. More than 50% of drivers in Ireland charge at night. The gap was revealed after a recent report from the International Energy Agency found energy retail prices in Ireland are 3 times higher than wholesale prices, one of the biggest gaps in the world. So not only are electric vehicle drivers, they can't charge in certain places. They might arrive to an EV charging point and it's not working. There's simply not enough charging points across the country. But the expense now, paying €400 more than other parts of Europe, but also that reflects the high electricity prices we have here. So obviously, we're all experiencing a huge cost compared to other parts of Europe. The Irish Daily Mirror. Man enters guilty plea and threat to kill Harris and family case. A man has pleaded guilty to making an online threat to kill or cause serious harm to Taoiseach Simon Harris and his family. Yesterday, Patrick Grealish, aged 48 from County Galway, pleaded guilty to making the threats to Mr Harris and his family in August of last year. Appearing before a sitting of the District Court in Connemara, Mr Grealish was remanded on continuing bail and is due to appear in court again in December. A court previously heard that the accused was arrested and charged at a Garda station in the Northwest region with making a threat to Mr Harris, intending for him to believe it would be carried out to kill or cause him and his family serious harm. We've talked about this before, how politicians are obviously in public office and, they're exposed to the public, and members of the public feel that they can attack them in a certain way. But it's very different then when such threats are issued to anybody, never mind someone who has a young family as well. And I can only imagine the serious concern that would have caused, given that he does have young children. Finally, for now, the Finn Valley Voice. Rafo will fall silent this morning as Peter O'Donnell, one of Finn Valley's best known as most loved residents, is laid to rest. Late of Demond's Rafo, Peter, aged 75, passed away peacefully following a short illness surrounded by his family in the early hours of Sunday morning. Known as Mr Boxing, he had an unmatched passion for and an encyclopedic knowledge of the sport. So yeah, definitely a sad day for the sporting world here in Donegal. As I mentioned, coming up now shortly, we'll be talking to 2 students from the ATU's Law Society about Friday's presidential debate. So we'll be back again shortly.
Newspapers are kindly supplied by Cosgrove Centra, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Now with the new look Mountaintop Diner.
This week, Highland Motors are going the extra mile by offering 0% finance or a €250 service voucher on all pre-owned cars. It's for 2 weeks only, and there's up to €5,000 in savings on certain models. That's until Friday, October the 24th at Highland Motors in Letterkenny on all pre-owned cars. Some terms and conditions apply. See the selection available at Highland Motors or call the sales team on 912877.
Hey, got some old household electrical appliances or batteries lying around? Recycle them for free with We Ireland in partnership with Donegal County Council at our special collection day on Saturday 25th of October in Falcarra at Dennis McCallion's yard from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We'll accept anything household with a plug or battery. See weaireland.ie.
PDO thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. 07495 325 75.
If the medical experts get it wrong, everything changes. From misdiagnosis or delayed diagnosis to surgical injury or even poor treatment, all have physical, emotional and financial consequences. We're here to help. So if your treatment didn't go according to plan, speak to our experienced medical negligence team at McElhenney and Associates. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
The Royal and Prior School Rafo invite all 5th and 6th class pupils and their families to their open night this Thursday, October 23rd from 4:30 till 7:30 p.m. Come along and explore the school, meet the staff and tour the boarding house. We look forward to welcoming you this Thursday at the Royal and Prior Rafo.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
So the time is now 19 minutes past 9. Now, everybody will know that in 2 days' time, we will have a chance to take to the polls to elect the next President of Ireland. A debate is taking place in the ATU now tomorrow evening. I'm joined in studio by Aoife Gethings, former co-president of the Law Society, Jimmy Brome, who is the president of the Debate Society at ATU, and Sebastian Castley, member of the Debate and Law Society as well. So I'll start with yourself, Aoife. What is happening now in the coming days, or tomorrow?
Tomorrow evening at 5:30, students, faculty and the public are going to attend a student-led debate where we have one side for Heather Humphreys, we have another side for Catherine Connolly. They'll come together and discuss each of their point of view, and then what matters to them, why they're voting a certain way, and basically try and persuade each other. There will be awards on the night, there is public questions, and it will be judged as well.
Yeah, and this is something that takes place every election, and it's very well attended, isn't it?
It was. So some of your listeners may remember last year, myself and a few of the other representatives came in and we discussed highly our presidential election. That was it. We had a massive turnout. We filled a lecture hall of over 120 people regarding the American Trump debate and what students felt and what issues were affecting them, and shared their opinions on it. We then also held one for the general election for Dublin, and again it's students' voices, what matters to students, and it's really great for other people to get an insight as to what is bugging young people these days, what do they feel. So we just like to provide them with a platform to discuss and voice their concerns.
And I suppose sometimes I think a lot of young people aren't interested in the election, but do you find that they really are?
Well, I think over the last couple of weeks, young people have, over the last number of months, believe it started when the general election came about, students that were approaching us as a committee and within the college were looking to get local representatives in, like their TDs and their councillors, to express what it was that was bothering them. I know at 12 o'clock today we have a student walkout on the ATU, which was facilitated by our SU president Joseph Sweeney. And this is showing that students are no longer taking things lying down, they're taking an active approach. And I notice, and I think as a committee we notice as well, that students are getting involved, they're not being silenced anymore, because decisions that have been made by older generations and past governments and past representatives are affecting us more than ever. It's students that are struggling to get mortgages and housing crises and cost of living and student fees. The only way they can change that is by voicing them.
Yeah, and it's great that, I think back to myself when I was, say, a student, I never would have thought about getting a mortgage. I just kind of lived as I went along. But it's great that young people now are thinking about that and hopefully trying to make the difference by voting in who they believe is the best.
I think so, and I think looking back on the polls that we ran in college and obviously the local polls, the younger people are coming out more, and I believe it's great to see. I also believe that because a lot of my own age, I know an awful lot of people that have emigrated to the likes of Australia and America, so their votes are going to be down, but I believe everybody that is here should exercise their vote, whether you vote for Humphreys, whether you vote for Connolly. People died in 1916 to get this vote, and it really disheartens me to see women commenting things like spoil your vote, when in 1923 women got the right to exercise their vote. We got our voice, so why should we spoil it? get out and use it, no matter who you vote for, whether you do it anonymously, whether you voice who you're voting for. Just get out. It's your chance.
Because there's never going to be change if people continue to spoil their votes. I know some people be so disgruntled by the system, but, there's going to be no change unless we, put somebody there.
You have to. And I believe that people are spoiling their votes because, they didn't elect them. Well, actually, you did. They had a council elections. You nominated and you voted for your local councillors. So the councillors voted for who they backed for the presidential election. The same as for the TDs. They were all elected. It's okay to sit behind a phone screen and comment on Facebook, #spoil your vote, or, I'm not voting for this, or I'm going to write this on my ballot sheet. What good is that going to do? If you want change and you want to see somebody else in the presidential seat or in the Ross, go out and vote. You could be part of that 1 or 2% that will change the way the election swings.
Yeah,
now, whether
absolutely.
it swings for Humphreys or swings for Connolly's, none of us are going to know until Saturday, Sunday, possibly Monday.
Yeah.
Still, use your vote for something, because if you don't, you'll be better off just staying in bed and not going to the polling station at all.
And I find that it's those people that call for spoiling votes that, they obviously won't go out and vote themselves, and they'll give off then so much. But, you can't do that because you're not making the conscious decision to elect somebody. But anyway, back to Friday. So we'll start with yourself, Jimmy. What do you believe that a president should possess?
Well, number one, they should be clear. And I feel that is what Connolly has demonstrated, especially in the debate yesterday. I believe she was the clearest of the two candidates. But I'm also going to go on to that. We need a Gaeilgeoir in the Ross. It represents people who fought for our right to speak Irish and to be allowed to speak Irish, and for someone to go in and, number one, let's go back. Heather Humphrey has very clearly just denied. She says, when I was Minister for the Gaeltacht, the reason I didn't learn Irish was because it wasn't a priority because I had Brexit and stuff. So that community is not a priority for her.
But she did say that if elected, she would then learn the language.
But she said that when she was made Minister for the Gaeltacht. How are we supposed to trust her word? Let's go back to... And when she doesn't lie directly, she lies through omission. She said... but let's put her to the side and go back to Connolly. Connolly has even demonstrated, even through this barrister controversy, which I don't think is a controversy, she was just doing her job, has demonstrated that she understands the separation of powers. She put her personal beliefs aside when she was a barrister and represented all candidates. Like when she goes into the Ross, she'll put aside her personal biases and represent all members of Irish society. And I think honesty and integrity is what the Irish population want. And they want someone who'll call the government out. And that is what the president is. It's supposed to be a safeguard against the legislative going wild.
And Sebastian, you are in favour of Heather Humphreys. Yes. How do you feel that she would best represent Ireland if elected president?
I think that Connolly is potentially a bit too critical of the EU. Ireland relies on the EU. True, I agree that the criticisms are valid. With Gaza, absolutely horrible with what's going on over there. However, the criticism of Connolly with the honesty and the whole controversy of the barrister thing shows sort of a double standard, given that she said was calling banks the devil, evil, this, that and the other, and yet she practiced as a barrister working for them.
But then she would argue that, that was her job. She didn't make the exact decision, who was going to lose their home.
Just because it's your job doesn't make it right. You can acknowledge it, say, yes, I did this, yet not entirely the case. What the problem is that she's saying that the bank's the devil, yet worked for them, and yet says she's an honest person, which it shows a sort of a double standard, if that makes sense.
I suppose I should ask as well, do you think, Jamie, that the right candidates were put forward? Do you think that there was a wide enough field?
Well, I actually do believe. I believe that at least Connolly had the support of a large backing within the Dáil. And what is the president but a representative for the political climate of Ireland? I know that some people were very disheartened when some candidates didn't get nominated. But if you can't get the backing within a small percent of the government, how are you going to be able to work with that, with the whole government?
Going forward then.
Going forward, yes. But I just want to respond to his thing about the EU. Like, we need a president who'll speak for Ireland, and sometimes that won't be in line with the EU's mandates. But that is a good thing. You don't want, and I understand you have to placate to the EU slight bit, but we need a candidate who'll speak their truth and will represent Ireland best. And it's the similar thing to Heather Humphrey. And I know she said yesterday that there probably are things that she's called the EU out on, but you need someone who'll say it for what it is. Europe is becoming very militarized. Maybe Ireland, as a neutral country, should take our chance and represent the views of probably a large proportion of Irish society on the military. But Heather Humphreys, I feel, will be just putting forward whatever the government's thinking. And I know, I'm not doubting she'll take the promise to stay as a neutral party, but I will say, if you're...
But then, is she really neutral? You know, she has the backing of Sinn Féin and she has the backing of a lot of the opposition. Can she still say that she is neutral?
I believe she can. I believe she's demonstrated that she's went against some votes that Sinn Féin have put forward. And now I haven't looked into it, but I presume she's went against some votes people before profit have put forward. And and people always say that the opposition represents a large amount of Ireland. So why is it so strange that a politician who's the president would represent that small fringe of Ireland? But she has spoken out that she'll speak for everyone. Like, she spoke about how she'll invite loads of different parties into the Áras when she gets her chance. First the Carers, and I can't remember who she said after that, but she did say. So I think you need someone who'll be clear and be in Ireland's corner and will protect our neutrality. Heather Humphreys has on multiple occasions brought up putting Irish troops in Ukraine.
But then I suppose Heather Humphreys then has said she will be a voice as well for everybody. How do you respond to what Jimmy was arguing there?
I do agree that Europe is becoming more militaristic. It's potentially a necessary precaution given the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Countries have the right to defend themselves. That's just a right every country has. The thing is, Ireland, by nature and by law, is a neutral country. Yet in its actions, it's not. It openly supports certain countries. The thing is, neutral countries shouldn't do that. They should have no support. Like, take Switzerland, for instance. They've never done anything that went against their neutrality. They have a military, but they use it solely to defend themselves. The increase in militarization is a potential precaution.
But I suppose aligning with Europe, you know, we are part of Europe, so that, you know, we do have to be involved in it. You know, Jimmy was arguing there about that, but that is a huge part of, you know, who we are here in Ireland and how we formed and how so many decisions here are formed, that we do need to be involved with that.
I think Ireland should have a military, but not as a offence, more of as a defence. True, peacekeeping missions are necessary due to the UN and all, but think of it like this. Ireland militaristically is one of the most strategic points on Earth. It's the last country to go to the US. Ireland should be able to defend itself with a military, with all that. It needs it.
We're just going to take a quick break and we'll be back again with more in a couple of minutes.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
How are you, Louise? I'm really busy. I'm hoping it won't be like last year when we had flu in our house. I had to take so much time off work.
I took the kids to the pharmacy last year for the free flu vaccine. It's just a simple nasal spray to protect us.
Great idea. I'll book mine in.
Quick and easy. The nasal flu vaccine is free for all children 2 to 17 years old. If nasal spray isn't suitable, an alternative is available. Visit ipu.ie for more information. Brought to you by the Irish Pharmacy Union. Kindly supported by AstraZeneca.
When you hear these names, you'll think tries and tackles. But off the pitch, Jamison Gibson Park surfs. Tygburn bakes. And Ryan Baird fishes. Game-changing talent isn't always what you expect. Just like Vodafone Business. We're experts in more than you might think, with cybersecurity, cloud solutions, and collaboration tools. So your business can change the game. Search Your Business Can.
When it's gone, it's gone. This week's new Wigging at Home Store and More. All baking trays and tins are all half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price baking trays and tins are gone, they're gone. Also, all clothes hangers and all living room throws are still half price. But when our clothes hangers and living room throws Wiggings are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
If you're getting new furniture or it's time for a change, pay a visit to McGinley's Furniture in Letterkenny. There you'll find a selection of suites, beds and bedroom furniture, dining room and occasional furniture. You'll be amazed by the selection and pleasantly surprised by the prices. At McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny. And online at mcginleysfurniture.com.
Get ready to celebrate your Christmas party night in style at the Mount Ergal Hotel. On Saturday 13th of December, enjoy a festive night with the Cufflinks. And on Friday 19th of December, it's the brilliant All Folked Up. Your night includes festive drinks on arrival, a 4-course meal and live entertainment, all for just €50 per person. Book today at the Mount Ergal Hotel, Letterkenny.
Whether it's on a bagel, in a cheesecake, or your very own secret recipe, if you love using Philadelphia cream cheese, we want to hear from you. Highland Radio has teamed up with Philadelphia Cream Cheese, the original, for your chance to become a Philadelphia local ambassador and win a €250 voucher. For your chance to win, listen into Around the Northwest this week from 12 p.m. and keep an eye on our socials. All with thanks to Philadelphia, the best friend in everyone's fridge. You've got a friend in Philly.
So welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We're discussing Friday's presidential election and we're joined by 3 guests in studio from the ATU Law Society. I'm going to bring Aoife back in here. Aoife, you just exposed that you're in favour of Catherine Connolly as well.
I would be, yes. For multiple different reasons, party politics aside, I do believe that she is the better candidate, both with honesty, transparency and her beliefs. I believe Heather Humphreys is very political, economically orientated, which, yes, are great qualities in a TD. If that's what she wants, that's where her expertise lives, that's where she's been for the last 10 plus years. Mm-hmm. Whereas Catherine Connolly, in my opinion, has come with a completely different approach. She's come with honesty, inclusivity, a voice for everybody, not just the political parties or what the political gains will be from it, but from every citizen of Ireland. And I believe that she represents everyone, that she could do something for everyone. Her campaign has been going since the middle of July. I just believe it's been up until the last few weeks. Obviously, we're coming to the final hurdles. It's been a pretty clear and clean campaign. I'm yet to see, for lack of a better word, her target a smear campaign. I know what's been going on with on Facebook over the last few weeks with the Fine Gael page and some of the RTE posts regarding her work as a barrister. And I think if he never said anything else truthful in his life, the Minister for Justice, what he came out with and said a few days ago was that Catherine worked as a barrister. We're 3 law students here. Whether it takes us into politics, law, economics, we will be bound by the rules of our profession. And one of the professional rules for a barrister is you're bound by the cab rank rule. So you take cases as they come to you, no matter what the client is. If Heather Humphreys feels that because Catherine Connolly defended and prosecuted financial institutions, is that not to be said for some of the best criminal barristers and attorneys in the country that have defended and prosecuted some of the worst crimes ever committed within this state? It's the job. It doesn't define the person. Who is running for the presidential race at the minute is Catherine Connolly, not Catherine the barrister who had a job to do.
Sebastian, do you agree with that? I know Catherine Conley herself came out and said that, you know, bringing that up was a new low in the campaign. Do you agree with that, or you think it was a right move?
I think that, well, obviously they, you know, as a lawyer, if you're good at something, you're going to get more clients for it. So if they're good at taking homes away from people, more people are going to come, you know, more financial institutions are going to come to get that happen. The thing is, has it gone slightly too far? Possibly. However, with the campaign, you need honesty. You need to get things out there. If you have a public life, you know, as a politician, nothing's going to stay hidden.
And do you think that it will be easy for Heather Humphreys to put her politics aside? Obviously, it's a president to represent the entire nation.
I think that, like was said with the economics, it's necessary, especially here. Ireland is so dependent on the EU for, you know, business, because tax haven and all, and free trade with the rest of the EU. All the MCNs came here after Brexit. That's what was essentially fueling the Irish economy. So I think that trade deals are necessary, and I think that the economics are very important in a president.
And Jimmy, we have seen that, you know, Catherine Conley's, you know, obviously well ahead in the polls. Among, you know, your peers, we have 2 out of 3 here anyway, as it is. But is it the sense from the younger people, the students, that Catherine Conley is the one?
Well, I've heard support from the smoking areas of clubs to the classrooms in schools.
Real ear to the ground.
Yeah. But you hear constantly, people are sick of this government's initiative. And I know Heather Humphrey, and I don't doubt her ability to take a separate view, but if you're in that mindset for 10 plus years, you're going to still be in that mindset for the 7 years you're in the Iras. Heather Humphreys has demonstrated on multiple occasions that she just loves to leave information out. Like, let's go to the fox hunting, for example. She was asked about it first, and what was her first response? Well, it's not animal abuse. I have a wee dog. I love animals and stuff. What does that have to do with it? Now, yesterday she did say it was a rural pursuit. But Catherine Conley said it's immoral, but it does need to be done in some case. You have to take an initiative to just do something. And I also want to go back to the Ireland needs the US. We do need the US. The US money bankrolls Ireland. But Catherine Conley on multiple occasions has demonstrated within her role as stepping in as Ceann Carla that she can put her stuff aside. When she was the barrister, she put her personal belief that the banks were doing wrong to the side and represented it to the best of her ability. Like when she goes into the Iras, she'll represent to the best of her ability. In Ceann Carla role, she met with many people and she demonstrated that she can entertain these people and not cause international disputes. Now, I don't know about Heather Humphrey. I'm not going to comment on how she would deal in those situations, but as Ceann Carla, I saw a very strong representative for the Irish spirit.
And she had to be very impartial in that role as well, and you think she did that well?
I think she did.
And back to yourself, Sebastian. A listener has said that Heather appears to lack real interest in the job and is merely going through the motions. I sometimes myself, when I see her, think that, you know, she's in this position now. Sometimes she comes across maybe a bit desperate in terms of the things she's saying. Do you agree with that? Or
I think that both candidates want the role. They both voted in, they both applied or whatever. What I think is that she has the backing. She wants to unite Ireland. She wants to be a uniter of sorts. But does she have the motivation? I think so, yes.
Can I just...
Yes?
I just want to bring up, with her interest in the thing, Heather Humphrey yesterday was asked about her Council of State, and it seemed she had a very obtuse view of it. Like, she didn't really understand a lot of the rules surrounding it. Now, I'm not saying she didn't, but that's just how it came across to me. While Catherine Conley, when she was asked, was straight to the point, knew all the facts, was able to communicate it to the best ability. Also, Heather Humphrey is kind of wishy-washy when she comes across. She's trying to get everyone in, First she says, oh yes, I want a 50-50 cabinet, which is good. 50-50 cabinet between gender balance, that's an amazing initiative. But then she goes on and says, oh, I want a council of young people. And then she goes and says, oh, I want a council of old people. I was
Mixed
thinking,
messaging.
at one point I was thinking, are you going to say you want a council of middle-aged people? Like, what's going on? You need to be strong. And Catherine Connolly says, I don't know who I'm going to put in. Heather Humphreys just trying to do this collect all thing. She did the same thing at the very start of the debate, where she said, she tried to get the spoiled vote to come and vote for her. She says, it's a shame that there's only 2 candidates standing up here and stuff. Where was that when Fine Gael were putting the party whip system into use? Now, I don't think the party whip system is a bad system. It has led to a lot of development and you vote in blocks. But you can't be in support of the party whip system and then complain that there's not enough candidates on the paper. That's another wishy-washy view.
And do any of you think that Jim Gavin should have, obviously he's pulled out of the campaign, but would any of you have been in favour of Jim Gavin, or you very much made your decision from the outset?
I know from my own perspectives, the decision was made from the outset, from looking at not even just a name or party politics. I don't like when party politics are involved in such a big decision. Their people take their beliefs, do not take the fact that this one is registered with Sinn Féin, or this one's a Fine Gael, or this one's Fianna Fáil. You know, take that out of the collective. The beliefs. Well, as a Mayo person anyway, I don't think it would have gone down well if I voted for the Dublin GAA manager. However, I was voting for Catherine. I always was, because I agree with her morals and they're in line with my beliefs. But I will say this for Jim Gavin. Taking away the party that nominated him, he had the backbone to step down when he knew his time was up. He could have dragged it on and made this into a big whole hullabaloo. Instead, he had the common decency to know, look, I've done wrong. He held his hands up to his mistakes and he walked away with his head held high. Now, what he did to them tenants or what he didn't do, you know, that's a matter for another day. But at least he had the common decency and the respect for the Irish people to pull himself out. Now, again, this is another thing that has come up with the spoil the vote. If people vote for him on the ballot because he's withdrawn, it's the Irish taxpayer that will pay for this. It'll go back to another election with the same candidates again. And the same with the spoil the vote. It will go back to the taxpayer and the same thing will just keep
Because
happening.
the possibility is that Jim Gavin could still be elected.
There is
if
the
he wanted that
possibility,
role, then if he was. Some people need to think very hard.
I would even just come in and say that I know I'm not accusing Fianna Fáil of doing anything, but I felt that Jim Gavin was kind of scapegoated by them. There was probably they probably knew within the party about this whole rent scandal. I feel like they didn't very much stick up for their candidate, and this is a very good thing. Even the Minister for Justice had to come out and say, well, I think Catherine Connolly in this barrister thing did nothing wrong. That shows. And also on the justice point, I'm going to bring up, it seems Fine Gael don't believe in rehabilitation. They don't believe in the justice system. They don't believe in the right. Everyone, even the financial services, deserve the right to represent themselves in court.
I do agree with Aoife that, you know, there was no calls straight away. You know, it happened very quickly when Jim Gavin stood down. So, you know, yeah, it's kind of does show the kind of man he is as well. But, you know, he just maybe felt as well this wasn't for him, the campaign. And I suppose nobody knows what else would have been. You know, we've seen it in terms of Catherine Connolly and Heather Humphreys. What else would have been thrown at him as well?
We've all done wrong. And I think when you're in the public eye so much and you put yourself on such a high public platform, everybody on the island of Ireland has skeletons in their closet. People are going to go on fishing expeditions to see what can this make this person look bad or what can this person make bad. The thing is, we've all made mistakes. We've all made errors. He had the decency and the respect for the Irish people to own up to what he did, and he stepped away. Whereas currently, the last few weeks, Heather Humphreys, as I think, in my opinion anyway, she's realised that the canoe was capsized. Okay, let's make everybody else drown around us while we're at it. I think that's why she's putting out so much negative media towards Catherine Connolly.
But Sebastian, you wouldn't be of that view?
I think I do agree everyone has skeletons in their closet, just how it comes out. I think that, well, true, it's gone a bit too far with the smear campaign or whatever it's being called. I think it's been a bit too far. However, I think that the meaning behind it is very much valid. She did represent them. She was good at her job. That's why she kept getting business from those institutions. And yet she says, oh, they're the devil. They were paying her bills for a time. She really can't complain.
And has Heather Humphreys been your choice from the outset?
I would have liked to have seen where the other candidates would have gone,
Mhm.
but given that they're the only two choices.
And was there any, we had Maria Steen and we had Gavin, I can't remember his surname now. Yeah, that we're going, would any of them have appealed to you?
I would have liked to have seen it go on for a bit longer, get to know the candidates a bit better to make a decision.
I definitely think that it would have been lovely. I feel that maybe has impacted the lack of momentum around this election. Aoife, do you think that there should have been more candidates?
I don't know, to be quite honest. I have to believe in the judicial system. Look at the preamble in relation to what Pádraig Pearse read out. We are a democratic society. There is procedures in place to get these nominations, because if the procedures weren't there, everybody would run for the arse. And then it as much as it is at the moment only a ceremonial role, there is no large power in comparison to our neighbours in the US. I do believe there should be, like, the nomination procedures. I believe that they're
very stringent.
They serve their purpose, and that's why I'm happy with the 3 candidates. Yes, maybe 4 or 5 would have been nice, but yet again, as Jamie has highlighted before, if you cannot get the minority of the government or local authorities to back you, how are you expected to get enough votes to pass the quota to be elected the president, the 10th president of the state?
It demonstrates just in the clearest terms how we're Ireland. If there was that want for that candidate, they would have got on the ballot. Now, in saying that, some candidates who tried to get onto the ballot tried very late. They started doing their campaign at the very end of it, which I don't agree with. I think if you're wanting to go for the president, you need to start at the very start of the chance. You can't just build momentum in a couple of weeks. But I just think, clear as day, Catherine Connolly is at least honest. Honesty is what you want in a president. You don't want a president. Now, I know there was the whole controversy with this Irish Times journalist where they wanted a yes or no, and Catherine Connolly just said, I represent all. But she did say, she did open her mouth and say, I did. While Heather Humphrey does the old political trick of me no remember. She thinks that, because, like, let's go to the shame.
Her Sebastian here.
I sense collusion.
Do you want to come back in any of this?
Well, do I think, like I've kept saying, I think it's gone a little too far, but I think that the argument's perfectly valid of what's been going on.
I did notice last night, and I don't know if any of the other listeners copped onto this a little bit, but I really struggled to watch the primetime debate last night because Heather Humphreys has stood up and said that she has 10 years experience, and she's 10 years in the Dáil of public speaking and working within government, yet she cannot, not even for 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes of the interview, I think she said the words that many times. Now I have a 6-year-old at home that could have more fluent conversation than she did, and I was just like, how are you meant to stand on the world stage and represent this country when you cannot even speak to your own nation?
Well, I can imagine that tomorrow evening's debate will be quite entertaining. Remind us, Aoife, of the details and who can come along.
So it's open to the whole public. You do not have to be a student. You don't have to be anybody. You can just walk into the doors at 5:30 in room 1101. There will be students from the ATU Debate Society and the ATU Law Society there to welcome you. You will hear in a lot deeper discussion regarding Sebastian's Heather Humphreys and Jamie's Catherine Connolly, and other students will be debating as well. It will be open to audience questions then, and there will be awards at the end.
Great. Thank you all so much, Aoife, Jimmy and Sebastian, for calling in, and I suppose enjoy tomorrow evening as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Smart employers choose One for All. Reward your staff tax-free now up to €1,500 with gift cards that can be spent directly in-store and online with thousands of retailers on thousands of brands. Give cards physically or digitally. It's gifting made simple. Order One for All gift cards now at any post office or online at onpost.com/business gifting. Terms and conditions apply. The One for All gift card is issued by GVS Prepaid Europe Limited and regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Autumn is here and so is your last chance to save. The Easy Living Furniture Oktoberfest sale has been extended until Sunday. Enjoy amazing reductions across every department, from comfortable sofas and luxurious mattresses to elegant dining sets and on-trend accessories. Now's the perfect time to give your home a cosy autumn makeover. Sale must end this Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, presently Retail Park, Derry.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold! And ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
If you're fitting a new kitchen or replacing some tired appliances, now's the time with the Ben Sweeney Euronics Kitchen Bundle. Get a single oven and hob, integrated dishwasher and fridge freezer, wash machine and tumble dryer, all for just €2,000. Other kitchen bundles are available on request. Call us today or visit Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, in the shopping centre, Dunlow.
There's any number of new cars out there, but do the numbers add up? With the stylish Peugeot 2008, Fastback 3008 and spacious 5008 electric and hybrid range, they really do. Enjoy a €500 Dunnes Stores gift card, a 5-year unlimited mileage warranty, and for electric cars we'll add a free 3-year service plan and a home charger. Order your 261 Peugeot today at McGinley Motors, your main Peugeot dealer in County Donegal. Offer ends December 31st. Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Our Christmas shop has now opened for all your festive shopping needs. Explore our extensive range of decorations, bedding and more in our homeware department, in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Today's weather, a mix of scattered showers and sunny spells today. Clyde with some outbreaks of rain will move up from the south towards nightfall, highest temperatures of 9 to 13 degrees. Just to note that there is a crash on the Cullion Road in Letterkenny near the cement plant, and motorists are advised that delays are expected there. Loads of comments coming in relation to the presidential election. A listener says, nothing will change my mind. Heather Humphreys is still the best candidate to represent me as a person from a mixed religion family living in Donegal. Neither of them are good enough. This is Catherine Connolly and Heather Humphreys to represent Ireland. Connolly has too many hidden agendas, still hasn't explained fully why she was in Syria with Wallace and Claire Daly. Humphreys will do what the government tell her. There are a lot of Heather Humphreys supporters out there. They just don't shout as loudly as Catherine's supporters. You nearly feel scared to say that you support Heather, as people seem to attack and belittle her. You would be surprised how many silent supporters she has. Well, I suppose we'll see the outcome of that once the votes are counted on Friday. But that there is that element as well that people maybe don't want to support government parties and they're scared to, make that view known. But obviously, their vote will be cast in secrecy, and we'll see then what the outcome is. Regarding the presidential election, are you for real? Vote for who we are told for. What about the people's candidates that were denied? This presidential election is the most boring I've ever listened to, and I've listened to quite a few. I wouldn't vote for either of them. Turned off the debate after 15 minutes last evening. Talk is cheap. Whoever is elected, they will not be able to do one thing about the very serious issues we have in this country. Nobody wants a united Ireland. This is why I would vote for Heather and not Catherine. In my opinion, the North is too valuable. We require the NHS and education system in the North. There are so many students who attend university in Northern Ireland as they obtain a powerful degree but can still travel home at the weekends. That's an interesting point of view on that. The news at 10 o'clock is coming up now in a couple of minutes.
How are things? How's the family? How are you? How can I help?
When it comes to supporting people living with dementia, it starts with asking how. Because how is a small word, but this social connection makes a big difference. So if you know someone affected by dementia, check in with them. And learn more about how you can help build dementia-inclusive communities at understandtogether.ie from the HSC.
Autumn is alive with a kaleidoscope of colour, nature and adventure at National Trust NI. Unwind and relax with a crunchy leaf walk through Llewellyn Garden. Sample the finest seasonal food at Florence Court's Harvest Fair. Gaze into the majestic mirror-like lake at Mount Stewart. And breathe in the beautiful garden at Castle Ward. Or delight with frightful fun on one of our trails this Halloween half-term. Come along and make wonderful memories this autumn. Search National Trust NI today.
This Halloween it's back and it's bigger, better and scarier than ever before. Fawn Fright Nights return to the Lochswilly Marina from the 27th to the 31st of October. Dare to enter the haunted house if you think you can handle it. Open nightly from 7 to 10 p.m. And the best part, the price only €10. Fawn Fright Night, Lochswilly Marina Fawn. Over 12s only. Not suitable for anyone who's pregnant or with a heart condition.
It's the Donegal Creamery's Milk €500 cash splash. We're giving away €500 in cash every week. Scan the QR code on promotional packs of Donegal Creamery's Milk and you could be making a splash with €500 cash. Pick up special packs of Donegal Creamery's Milk in store to find out more. Terms and conditions apply. The €500 cash splash with Donegal Creamery's Milk.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your presidential candidate, Charlie's Chip. Vote for someone who's hand-cut for the job and will bring a fresh approach to the table. A candidate who supports all buns, sauces and salads equally and will ensure better takeaways for everyone. If there's one chip that can change your future, this is it. Let's fry for a better future. Vote Charlie's Chip for president. Charlie's, open Tuesday to Saturday, Pierce Road, Letterkenny.
McGowan Hearing, one of the longest established audiologists in the Northwest, now have weekly clinics in Letterkenny, Buncrana and Carndonna. Book your free hearing aid consultation at one of these clinics or with audiologist Darren McGowan in your own home. Call 07191 00208 or visit mcgowanhearing.com.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news at 10 o'clock. Police are concerned for missing 63-year-old Seamus Quinn, who was last seen in the city side of Derry yesterday morning. He has short grey hair, is 5'8" in height, of medium build and may have glasses on. His exact clothing is unknown, however he may be wearing grey and orange Brooks running shoes. It's believed Seamus drives a red Renault Kadjar type vehicle with a partial registration number ending in 7441. It's thought that Mr Quinn, who works in Letterkenny, may be in Donegal. Those who have information or sightings of Seamus or his vehicle are asked to contact the PSNI. A photo is also available on our website. Public events should be cancelled when a status orange weather warning is issued, with some called off sooner. That's among a long list of recommendations contained in a review of the response to Storm Éowyn. A number of steps are already being taken, including a review of local authority severe weather and flooding plans and the development of a guide to establish community support centres. Storm Éowyn was described in the report as one of Ireland's most dangerous weather events in living memory. Gusts of 150 kilometres were recorded at Finner Weather Station in Donegal, the second highest in the country, and it set a new record for the station. Alan O'Reilly from Carlow Weather says the system needs to change if public events are cancelled under an orange warning.
For some type of temporary structure events, you could argue that, but I think the real problem here is that they need to change it to be far more granular if they're going to do that, because we have seen time and time again orange warnings for Cork, where one part of the county has a real serious weather event and another part has a nothing, pretty much.
More actions needed to make the Twin Towns fully accessible, according to Councillor Patrick McGowan. Speaking at a recent Leverage Northern Municipal District meeting, Councillor McGowan highlighted several problem areas in the town centre that make access difficult. He said 2 young people who use wheelchairs have actively been campaigning for improvements and commended the constructive way in which they expressed themselves. The issue of parked cars blocking footpaths in Castle Finn was also raised by Councillor Gary Doherty. Councillor McGowan says he feels the matter has been taken seriously by the council.
A lot of people now vent all their troubles out on Facebook, which is absolutely terrible. It's absolutely terrible, some of the stuff I'm said. So it's great when young people come forward in a constructive manner, and they should be listened to. And hopefully, and the engineers told me that they certainly will follow it up. So I'm happy enough with that. As I say, the engineer just rang me immediately after the meeting now, and she did express her concern, that things weren't as they should be.
The public are being advised to be aware of all healthcare options this bank holiday weekend. The HSE has issued a notice ahead of the weekend warning that the emergency department at Letterkenny University Hospital is expected to be very busy with long wait times for non-emergency cases. NowDoc will be available throughout the weekend, but appointments are required. Expert advice is also readily available from local pharmacies. At the hospital, senior clinical decision makers will be on duty over the weekend, and additional non-consultant hospital doctors will be deployed to the ED to support patient flow and help minimise delays. A nationwide walkout at technological universities is taking place at midday today, including the two Donegal ATU campuses. The student-led demonstration is in response to the latest budget, with students' unions claiming TUs aren't being treated the same as other universities. They're calling for investment in purpose-built student accommodation, professorships and increased postgraduate stipend funding. Lucy Bosch, welfare officer at Setu Waterford, says the creation of technological universities appears to have been a cost-cutting measure by the government.
We're also looking for increased funding for Irish medium classes so that it won't all be taught in English, and you would like to be taught and get your degree in Irish, you would have that opportunity. It's looking like the mergers for all of these ITs to become a TU has just been a cost-cutting measure, because rather have one big TU where your funding is less than if you had 5 ITs around the country.
Looking now to the weather forecast, a mix of scattered showers and sunny spells today with highest temperatures of 9 to 13 degrees. That's all for now from the newsroom. We'll be back with headlines at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices this Wednesday morning, October 22nd. The death has taken place of David Samuel Patterson, Culladerry Rafo. David will repose at Terence McClintock's funeral home at Ballybough Convoy today from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. Funeral tomorrow, arriving at the Rafo Presbyterian Church at 2 o'clock for service of thanksgiving for his life, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to Rafo Presbyterian Church, care of any family member or Terence McClintock Funeral Director. The funeral home is private to family only tomorrow, please. The death has occurred of Seamus Byrne, Cashel, Glencolmkill. His remains will repose at Shovlin's funeral home, Sandfield, Ardra, today from 4 o'clock until 6 o'clock. Removal to his late residence to repose from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. tonight, and again tomorrow from 12 noon until 10 o'clock. Funeral Mass is at 11 o'clock on Friday morning in St Columba's Church, Cashel, Glencolmkill, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to the Oncology Unit, Letterkenny University Hospital and Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. Seamus's funeral mass will be streamed on mcn.live. The death has taken place in Chester of Muriel Margaret Jones, née Craig, formerly of Rafo. A service of thanksgiving for her life will be held in St Eunan's Cathedral, Rafo, on Sunday at 3 o'clock, followed by interment of ashes in the adjoining graveyard. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
There's something terrifying in store for you at Aldi this Halloween. Choose from our range of sweets from as little as 72 cents. Roar and Dream chocolate treat size packs just €2.29. Traditional Barnbrack, including a ring, 2 for only €2. And 2-litre Vive Cola just 99 cents. All dead good value and everything you need to be the life and soul of your Halloween party. Aldi, all treats, no tricks. While stocks last. Deposit return scheme applies.
Welcome back to the 9 till noon show. It's Michaela Clarke in this morning for Grey Cues. A listener asked, could we get a mention for the 50th celebration of Douche National School today? An evening of celebration and nostalgia will be held in the school this evening at 7 p.m. and everyone is welcome. I'm sure that will be a lovely evening of celebrations. In relation to the riots, report the full story. You left out the child is 10 years old and the attacker was to be deported. Over 2,000 people can't all be thugs. We talked about that extensively yesterday during the newspaper review, and it's being carried as well on our news bulletins. Cost of living. I know you're speaking about the presidential election, but can I go off topic and say I was in a store yesterday. I purchased a Cadbury's Dairy Milk chocolate bar, ordinary 8 square bar. The person at the till said that's €2.25. I was shocked for a bar. They double checked, and yes, the price was correct. I find that it's only until you're buying these items separately that you know notice how much the cost of them has increased. You know, if you throw it in with a few other items, you mightn't necessarily think that they're expensive. No mention of putting generators at phone masts, so the phones still work in a power failure in the report. People in Dublin don't have a clue about being without electricity or a phone for several days. In relation to the riots again, last night was a shocking exhibition of people shouting about our country being destroyed and then displaying the biggest attack on their own community. I'm all for peaceful protest, but that behaviour last night is an abhorrent attack on us all. In relation to the presidential election, good to hear a young panel on your show. I cannot in conscience vote for either of the two. I'm left with no choice but to spoil my vote to register my protest at the government for their trickery. They are both appalled at the loss of lives in Gaza, and rightly so. I am too, but both totally silent on the 60,000 plus babies legally murdered in our own country since protection for the unborn was removed from our constitution. Another listener says, is it the case that Heather Humphreys actually wants the role of president? Maria McGuinness was the front runner, but Fine Gael needed a new candidate. Maybe Heather just stepped up for the party but doesn't have the hunger for it. I won't be voting for either of the two candidates, but from what I seen last night, Catherine Conley uses her courtroom skills to avoid awkward questions around her past, whether it's the banking issue or association with dissident Republican group. Heather Humphreys is the only option for me, this listener says. These students you have on are zoomed in so far that they don't see their country being destroyed all around them. Many heroes of 1916, another listener says, and the War of Independence previously fought or worked for the British Army or Civil Service. So the reality of criticism of Catherine Conley's work as a barrister and for those she did not personally support the parasite banks is kind of pathetic, isn't it? Asked that listener. We all talk about inclusion. My vote will be Heather Humphreys. It's time the underrepresented in this county had a voice. As a Fianna Fáil voter, I can't bring myself to vote Heather Humphreys number 1, another listener says. So I will be voting Jim Gavin number 1 and Heather Humphreys number 2. I was asking earlier, did anybody watch the presidential debate last night and what their thoughts were on it? This listener says, yes, I watched the presidential debate. In my opinion, Catherine Conley represents Ireland and the Irish people, never interrupts the other speaker, sticks to her word, didn't sling any abuse at her opponent. I feel Heather, instead of answering any questions she was asked, tried to turn everything on Catherine, which didn't come across great. Apart from being very intelligent and easy to listen to, she is also willing to take a hand at everything, all sport, doing a bit of dancing and even the odd song. I know these things are not near the top of her presidential work, but I feel it represents our Irish culture and why we are loved across the world. The government wouldn't let TDs and councillors vote in Maria Steen as a presidential candidate. How is this democratic? We vote in a government that won't allow our representatives to decide who we vote for. Finally, on the presidential election for now, I don't see how the result will make any difference to the people of Ireland. Michael D. Higgins voted in favour with the government on every occasion, and this president will be the same, believes that listener. If you have any other views on that, get in touch by calling 074 91 25,000, texting or WhatsApping 086 60 25,000, or you can also email comments@highlandradio.com.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 22nd of October. You're playing on the blue sheet for the daily prize of €400. The reference number is S13. It's game number 43. The numbers are 63, 6, 85, 41, 78, 3, 50, 70, 8, and finally 59. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
If you need an eye test, look no further than Louis Walsh Opticians. Letterkenny's longest established opticians are delighted to welcome patients new and old to their state-of-the-art practice in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. Their latest technology includes a 3D OCT retinal camera which assesses the health of your eyes in minutes. Private, medical card and PRSI patients welcome. Call 91 21000 to arrange your eye test.
Louis Walsh Opticians, Letterkenny. Your vision, our focus.
Hello, it's Joe Duffy here. I've been fortunate through my work with the National Lottery to meet some extraordinary good causes, from boxing clubs, wildlife conservation to community cafes. Did you know National Lottery players raise over €4.5 million every week for good causes all over Ireland? And that's all thanks to you, the players. You made this possible. Support responsibly. Average figures based on 2024 financials.
The big Renault sales event this week at Highland Motors in Letterkenny offers the opportunity to see and test drive a number of multi-award winning cars of the year. Fabulous Renault cars and outstanding offers during this 261 sales event from this Thursday to Saturday at Highland Motors, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Now's the time to rethink Renault.
Now, a missing person alert has been issued by police in Derry City and Strabane. They say they are concerned for missing person Seamus Quinn and are appealing to the public for your help to locate them. I'm joined now by Councillor Terry Crossan. Good morning to you, Councillor.
Good morning, how are you?
Good. So, Terry, you're a long-standing family friend of Seamus.
Yes, I have known Seamus since his childhood. I was very close friend of his father and his brothers and his mother, and indeed all of the family. And I was very shocked to hear last night that Seamus had been missing since yesterday morning.
And what do we know about the last whereabouts of Seamus?
Well, he was last seen. I spoke just a wee while ago with his brother, and he was last seen leaving the area in the general Ballyarnett area yesterday morning. He drives a red Renault Kadjar, and the registration number is VNZ 7441. Seamus is about 5'8". He's approximately 63 years of age and has grey, short grey curly hair, you know. Now, his brother told me that they may have received a report that he was seen turning left towards the village of Huff and might be heading in that general in a shown direction. So I would appeal, if anybody sees the car or sees Seamus, would they contact straight away and Garda?
Yeah, it's very important that people on both sides of the border keep an eye out. And just to remind people, it's believed Seamus was driving a red Renault Kadjar type vehicle with a partial registration number ending in 7441. And Terry, people can contact Gardaí, you had mentioned there, and obviously police as well in the north.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if anyone sees Seamus anywhere, either north or south of the border, they should contact the authorities straight away without any hesitation, because it is vitally important that he is located as early as possible.
Councillor Terry Crossan, thank you very much for joining us to get that information out. And just a reminder, the alert that has been issued by police in Derry City in Strabane. They say they're concerned for missing person Seamus Quinn and are appealing to the public for your help. Seamus is described as a 63-year-old male with short grey hair. He is around 5'8" in height, of a medium build, and have been wearing glasses. His exact clothing is unknown, police say. However, he may be wearing grey and orange Brooks running shoes. And as mentioned as well, it's believed Seamus drives a red Renault Kadjar type vehicle with a partial registration number ending in 7441. And as Councillor Crossan was saying there has been a report that he may have been spotted in Inishowen. So anybody with any information is asked to contact Gardaí and police as well. I'm now joined by John Farn, who is the General Manager of the Ballyliffin Golf Club. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning, how are you?
Good. So I suppose we're talking in the context that a meeting of the Inishowen Municipal District backed a proposal for the development of an events and conference centre in Inishowen, and this was on the back of a presentation you delivered.
Yeah, it goes back to a feasibility study that the Inishowen councillors funded some years ago. That was completed by a firm of consultants looking into the possible benefits of an event centre in Inishowen, and a 3,000-seater capacity event centre was proposed in that feasibility study, and it is seen as being a massive potential for the tourism industry and indeed the business community in Inishowen and beyond, in terms of a key piece of infrastructure that could lead to further and act as a catalyst for further development in Inishowen and beyond.
And has anything of this scale existed previously, or does it exist anywhere within Donegal at the moment?
Not in Donegal at the moment, and it wouldn't be competing with the likes of the Millennium Forum or indeed the Greening Theatre. This is a much larger scale. It would be for concerts, large scale concerts, conventions, comedians, anything that demands that size of an indoor event centre for the region. So it would be a massive step forward. It is a big project. Mm-hmm. It's a €20 million plus investment, but it would bring with it the guaranteed income to the local economy of at least 8 to 10 million per annum into the nighttime economy in particular. So hotels, restaurants, bars, and visitor attractions would all benefit from, the 80,000 minimum that would be attracted to this event centre on an annual basis.
Because you only have to look at even most recently the boxing event that took place at the weekend here in Letterkenny. The far-reaching benefits of that economically was right across the border, people stopping for something to eat on the way to it. So you can only imagine, that this would be replicated with this kind of facility.
Absolutely. There's a similar size facility in Castlebar, and in the course of the feasibility study, I met with them and discussed the impact this has on the local economy. And effectively, they maintain that this is like having a Connacht final anytime there's an event of this scale in Castlebar. So we're looking for a similar type event centre for Inishowen to attract that type of economic injection into the local economy, and to secure jobs in the tourism industry, but direct jobs as well in the convention centre or event centre. And it would be a multi-purpose facility, and that is key, so that it would attract a wide variety of large-scale audiences to the region. And hopefully they come for a concert or they come for an event, and they experience in Inishowen and Donegal, and they'll come back for other reasons, because that's what we're about. We get them here once and they'll come back.
And there has been so many representations made that Inishowen is kind of out on its own in terms of promoting tourism and encouraging people to visit that part of the county. So this would be huge in addressing some of those concerns too.
It would, and it should be viewed in tandem with the Wild Atlantic Way. That has been a huge success, but unfortunately, the success has been felt largely from Galway South. From Galway North, only 20% of the benefit has been felt, and it's infrastructure like this that will help and assist in developments such as those at Malin Head and Fort Dunree to be anchor catalysts for tourism development on a long-term scale. And this is a joint venture. It would be seen as a joint venture between Donegal County Council and the local community. It would be a non-for-profit facility to benefit everyone, and it would be seen as something that could attract further investment in terms of hotels would be attracted to the audiences that are coming to these events. It would possibly justify commercial investment in hotels, restaurants, bars, and outlets such as that people coming to an area would expect.
And you mentioned that it would be in partnership with the council. Has the council agreed to fund this or consider streams of funding?
Well, that's what we're trying to get over the line here. There is a rural regeneration fund, and we feel this fits perfectly within that. And it would be in partnership with the council that the project would go forward for rural regeneration funding. So the Donegal County Council will be an important partner in this, and that's the crux of it. We need Donegal County Council to come on board in this. It is a big project, and it needs big thinking to get it over the line. But we have evidence from Killarney with the INEC there and in Castlebar on the dramatic economic impact this could have, and not alone in the direct investment that comes with it and the employment that comes with it, but this would really benefit the shoulder season and the winter months where these indoor events can go ahead, can sustain hotels staying open in the low season, can sustain restaurants, bars opening when they know people are going to be about attending events such as this.
Yeah, and that's what is vital, I suppose, to ensure, the longevity of hospitality businesses. Maybe you've already mentioned it, John, but has a location been identified for this proposed centre?
Well, the original location was proposed for Carndonagh, but there's nothing set in stone. My priority is that this comes down to Sean, because we'll get one shot at this, and I have no doubt it will happen at some stage within the county, and I would like to see Sean get the first shot at it because we badly need an investment of this scale to trigger the economic impact that it will bring.
And I presume all councillors within the MD were in favour of this, were they?
They were absolutely very positive feedback from the councillors. They do feel that it is something that could benefit Inishowen and Donegal long term, and they're going to put their best foot forward now and try and get it moved along with the rural regeneration team within the council to try and get it to stage one.
Great. John Farren, General Manager of the Ballyliffin Golf Club, thank you for joining us this morning, and exciting times ahead for Inishowen, and just to have such a facility of that scale will be massive for the area. And as John was saying there, just the far-reaching benefits of it. I know I had mentioned that, I think, was it the Rumble in the Hills, the boxing event on Saturday, seeing people from, across, people in Strabane were out dining because they were travelling on to the event. So it just shows how much of an economic benefit it, things and events and, this conference centre could be for the entire Northwest region. A couple more of your comments now. What is that girl on about? We voted for councillors who decided not to nominate any candidate against the will of their constituents and based on dictators from party leaders. I am not represented by either of the candidates, which is bad enough, but the fact that alternative candidates were systematically blocked means that my vote has already been spoiled. On Friday, I'll let the cronies in charge know that. Glad to see Heather and Catherine are so obsessed by poverty in this country, especially in rural Ireland, probably because they've both never experienced it, says that listener. Another says, you're criticising those who are spoiling their votes, but those who are Conservative have no one to vote for, as our candidate has been deliberately blocked and excluded. So now the only thing we can do is spoil our vote. I suppose the argument was that people are, that's your argument in relation to why you would be spoiling your vote, but there are others who just decide that that's the way to go and, maybe have no interest at all in the presidential election or any election, and they make that decision to do that. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back again shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The Highland Radio Country Music Weekend is almost here at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, Friday 31st of October and Saturday 1st of November. On Friday night, it's Patrick Feeney and his band, then myself, David James and band. Saturday night, enjoy Jordan McPollan, Stacey Breen, followed by Michael English and his band. Spaces are limited, so book yours now at clanryhotel.com or highlandradio.com.
Get more great deals this week at Dunnes Stores. Pick up selected wines like Dada Malbec or Connoisseur and Oyster Bay Sauvignon Blanc, €10 or less. Get selected Pringles, Cadbury Treat Size, Mars Fun Size and Nestle Minis, now half price. And check out Deal 3 of our 12 Deals of Christmas, with Quality Street 550g tubs, now only €4.50. And stay tuned for next week's deal. Plus, you can save more with your 10 off 50 voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Vouchers can be used on next grocery shop. Excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
Travel from Donegal to Dublin for your getaway, business trip or concert. Enjoy great fares and excellent service with Aer Lingus. Book now and make the most of your journey. Fly Aer Lingus.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs, and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
Begin your next journey with Volvo at our 261 sales event. Experience our range of fully electric cars, including the updated EX40 with enhanced specification, or explore our full range of advanced hybrid cars. Take advantage of personal contract finance plans and drive home with excellent purchase contribution offers. Visit McKinley Motors during the 261 sales event to see the full range in person. Browse our range of offers available now on volvocars.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
Get the job done with the right equipment delivered direct from Watson Hire in Letterkenny. Free delivery on all equipment has been extended to the Finn Valley area, including Ballybuffet, Stranorlar, Castlefin and Killygordon. With great daily and weekend deals available, call Watson Hire. Listen in Letterkenny on 9167777. See Facebook or visit watsonhire.ie.
You're listening to the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio this Wednesday morning. I'm joined by Damien Dowds, who is the editor of Rebuild Donegal magazine. Good morning, Damien.
Hi, Michaela. How are you getting on?
Good. I was looking through this magazine and it really does do what it says it will. It supports homeowners facing the devastating impact of the defective concrete block crisis.
Aye, we've produced a 228 page magazine, I think it is, that's focused on the defective block crisis here, and it's kind of designed as a one-stop shop for any homeowner who knows that they have mica or think that they might have it, to try and help them get their kind of thoughts in order so that they can approach what is going to be a very difficult task of having to figure out how they're going to rebuild their homes and get on with their lives.
And did you see that there was room for this? There was a need for all this support and information to be in the one place?
Aye, I suppose my own home had mica, and when we were looking at this back in 2020, and you're starting to kind of get your head around the idea when demolition is being recommended for you, you have a lot of things to try and think about, and I did go out and buy a number of magazines, like house magazines, and to try and get ideas for the design of the house, to try and get ideas for how you go about building the house. And there wasn't naturally at that time, a Donegal housing magazine or anything like it. So, we had about a number of magazines, had a look through those, flick through to try and get inspiration, try to get ideas, try to figure out what you need to do when it's ahead. So, it'd been great for me if there was a magazine like this on the market back when I was looking at it first. So it's kind of based on the experiences of myself and others who've gone through the scheme, and there's a lot of articles in there too by professionals who've helped guide people through the demolition and rebuild or repair process that people have undergone. And we know, Michaela, it's only getting underway. The scheme is only a few hundred in it so far, and unfortunately, for thousands of listeners here today, this is around the corner for them. So this is a place where a magazine that they can read at their leisure, pick up a few bits and pieces from it, and start to get their heads around what's going to be a task that, in my case, took 5 years actually from the start.
Because I imagine navigating the scheme and the process, as you talked about there, deciding on different elements for the design of your new home, but that is so difficult, and I imagine it's so overwhelming that this magazine pinpoints different things to think of, to think about, from roofs and your windows, which maybe people might think is a minor detail in the grand scheme of things.
Aye, and I suppose like one of the early questions we had was, what form of construction would we use? Like, and I didn't build the house before, so I will admit know very little about building. I know a wee bit more now, but you knew nothing at all about building. So you're looking at, would we go and build with the cavity wall again, the block wall? Would you go and have a timber frame house, or would you do what we did actually and went with the insulated concrete form? So there was a lot of learning that had to be done, and you have a lot of things to try and consider, and it's just when you didn't build a house before, I never expected I'd be building a house. I never really intended. I just bought a house, and I thought when we bought back in 2007 that we'll buy another house sometime later, but that's kind of taken away from me. So you have to learn, and you have to learn kind of through the job, and I suppose what I found is that the competent building professionals, as they're called, but your engineers, your architects, your quantity surveyors, they can provide you with an awful lot of advice and an awful lot of know-how, but then ultimately the decisions and what is done is with myself and with the person himself, the homeowner, the husband, wife, or the single person that has to go and sort their house out.
Yeah, it's just a huge amount of information to get through. But this magazine's good too because it has a directory in it. So somebody who is looking for a certain element, even I talked about the roofs and the windows, and kitchen designs. There's information there available at hand.
I suppose, look, there's a couple of steps that you have to take if you're going to engage with the mega scheme. Obviously, you have to make your applications and all that, but once you get your approvals and then the confirmation comes through that you're going to be approved the scheme, you're going to be approved for demolition and rebuild, and some people are being approved for repair, whatever, externally for minor repairs or partial repairs. If you're dealing with a full rebuild, you then will need to start thinking about, well, where am I going to get my architect? Where am I going to get my builder? Where can I get my electrician? Where can I get, so there's a lot of information and a lot of local tradespeople who are already engaged in the scheme with homeowners, are have advertised in there, and they're explaining the services and the trades that they offer, because I hired a contractor because I didn't know enough about it. But for people that are self-building, for example, that are going to do their own contract and are going to engage their own tradespeople, they'll be looking for the various tradespeople that they need, and a lot of those local tradespeople and local businesses have advertised in here and are explaining what services they offer. So it'll be very useful. Again, it's all gathered in the one place, and there's a directory there that people will be able to flick through, and they'll probably see half a dozen architects or more listed within
it's
it.
at hand.
Exactly. So there's a lot of information because you have a lot of things to get your head around when you're doing it.
And it's very important too. There's different elements within it as well, discussing how you can get your children involved in this. Obviously, it's a very difficult time for the entire family.
Absolutely, so there's advice there on engaging your children in the redesign of what might become their childhood, their teenage, and maybe even their adult bedrooms as well. So It is. It's a thing that it encompasses the whole family. Like, you know, that when you have to demolish and leave your house, you kind of have to have a think about how you're going to relay that information to the children, depending on their age. And then as you come through the rebuild process, you do engage them and you talk to them about their decoration, you talk to them about what they would like and different things like that. So there is all that kind of advice, and there's plenty of advice in there as well on how to navigate the bureaucracy of the scheme as well. Like, you know, the scheme is famously bureaucratic, and there's advice in there on how to best deal with that as well.
And highlighting the mental health impact of this crisis is very important too.
Absolutely, yeah. There's been some good research done by the University of Ulster there. They've carried out surveys of people that are living in the defective homes, and they have found quite a lot of that. And that's the thing that everybody, I suppose, is, you know, we've all learned, I suppose, as a society in general, you know, that mind your mental health is very, very important. Like, you know, so we have an article in there based on some of the research done by the University of Ulster that's just advice for people that could be feeling a wee bit stressed, could be feeling a wee bit overwhelmed by the whole thing, that they need to take care of themselves as well, because the task in hand of going ahead to try and rebuild your house is quite a big one, and you need to be fit for it, and you need to be in the full year health when you're taking it on, because it's a big task. Like, yeah.
And I think the magazine's great too. You know, whenever we're even publishing news articles relating to the defective block crisis, this is a nice, bright, it's like a new beginning, this magazine. People can maybe look forward to the future.
Aye, and I suppose that is something that, you know, that we've experienced in our family. We've moved back into our home there over the summer, and, you know, having been in a defective home previous to it, and then moving into your home, like, you know, this is the famous light at the end of the tunnel that is so hard to see when you're setting out on this, and actually you can't really see it because there's so many obstacles in the way that blocks out that light. But as you move through the building process, there is, you know, decisions on what kind of counter worktop you're going to put in your kitchen. You know, it's not the worst decision in the world that you'll ever have to make, like, you're the biggest decision, like, you know, but when you're starting to think about the house that you're going to live in, and you're trying as well. And I suppose that's one of the things that we're emphasizing in the book, like, or in the magazine, is that you're trying to envisage about how you live today and how you might want and how you'll want to live in the future as well. So you're doing your best to, you know, to future proof your home.
Because obviously so many homeowners have to, unfortunately, invest a lot of their own money. So it is important, as you said, to look towards the future.
Absolutely, yeah. And, you know, people going into the scheme are going to have to carry tens of thousands of euros of their own money just to keep the wheels kind of greased as it's going on. I suppose in our case, you're probably, you know, it'll vary depending on the size of your build, but in our case, probably 10 to 15% of the overall cost of the build. We had to, you know, have our own money. We took our own borrowings to do that, so that we were able to progress through the scheme even as it stands at the minute. Like, we're not fully out of the scheme. There's final payments to be drawn down, and there's you know, we're patiently waiting on legislation going through the Oireachtas this autumn and into the new year, where you know, the different grant rates that will be revised. Everyone at the moment is working off the 2023 grant rates, and the magazine does reflect it. Like, this magazine reflects the grant scheme as it stands today, with the different gaps and regulations and limits and the rules that are in place there, you know. So I suppose it's dealing with the scheme as we find it today, rather than, you know, the scheme that you might wish it to be. So it's for that, like, and you know, we just deal with the caps and the rates that are there, like. But any homeowner that's in the scheme, or any homeowner that's getting ready to go on to it, like, they will know where they need to be advised that they're going to have to bring a proportion of the overall cost of the build of their own money with it, like.
And obviously this has been a huge undertaking, publishing this magazine, but do you anticipate bringing out further editions?
It's possible, yeah. It's possible. Like, I suppose, you know, the review of the scheme, you know, would change a lot of the grants and the regulations and the conditions that are there. So a revised version of it will be. But, like, you know, for the here and now, for today, this magazine assembles all that information in one place for the scheme as it stands. Like, and possibly in the future, yeah, there will be subsequent editions for it, because, look, there's I think the official estimate is there's about 5,000 affected private homes. I've said it before on the 9 to Noon show. That's a vast underestimate. It's probably 4 or 5 times that. Could be 20, 25,000 homes. There are people listening today who are in homes that don't think they have defective blocks, but they very well may find that they have, like, you know. So there's going to be a lot of this for years to come, because it is going to take decades to repair and to rebuild all these houses, given the vast number of homes that are affected. So I'd expect there will be subsequent additions as the scheme goes through various iterations.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a great resource for defective block homeowners. Damien, where can people purchase this?
Yeah, the magazine retails at $5.95, and it's available actually in most outlets, most news agents and shops where you'd be picking up a local paper. Like, it's available widely across the county there. It's also available in some of in some outlets in Derry and Strabane and so on. Like, but no, it's widely available across the county. I'd say it's in 60 or 80 different outlets in all parts of the county, because while the mica problem was first identified and first spotted and then shown, this district here was the kind of the canary in the coal mine, like, you know, and as more has been learned about it, and the ripple of it is spread out, and we now know that it's more prevalent across the whole of the county. So the magazine is available throughout the county and in their neighbouring counties as well.
Great. Damien Dowds, editor of Rebuild Donegal magazine, thank you for joining us this morning. And as Damien said, that is available in stockists right across the county and across the border as well.
Tosin se le tuitim, ach ní riochtnainn sin. Má tan tá leat tan leba ospidélan, agus éidan do winter in the recinn si do ghortaithe, tan fianán agus na hobradí agus na míana a chlánaithe, agus an tuiscint nach mé rudaí mar a bhí riamharíis, má tan tá leat. Nílan tobaiste ach na hús na rólan tún talamh. Cé bé áit an aibrín tú, planal chun cín má bhín tú ag obair ar airde, teach ag hsa.ie/working at height. Teachtarach don údar a sláinte agus a bháilteachta.
Join us at the Villa Rose Hotel and Spa Ballabufet on Friday 31st of October for a thrilling 2-night murder mystery getaway. Enjoy a stylish stay, hearty breakfasts and 3-course murder mystery dinner with interactive show. All from €225 per person sharing. A spooky escape for armchair detectives. Book now at villarose.ie.
Here, would you look at Eco Enda? He's only after going and getting himself one of the new Skoda EVs.
First he went vegan, then he got solar panels, now this.
I'm sure he'd buy anything as long as he can get a grant for it.
Must be from that county beside Monaghan.
The new fully electric Skoda range. The kind of cars that get the neighbours talking. But only if you're quick. Check availability at skoda.ie. Skoda, let's explore.
Skoda. Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721396.
At Hidden Hearing, we believe you should keep hearing it all. Keep dancing. Keep celebrating. Keep laughing. Keep being you. Call 1-800-370-000 or go to hiddenhearing.ie and book a free hearing test today. Hidden Hearing. Your hearing is our expertise.
Coltas Ceoltarí Éireann a Lethir Cargis, ag Celliar in the Gango. Ihe specialta land the Heol, Aran agus Dausa, March an Ortu Lesfihe, Jerry Forward ag a Hort, in Erklan and Rianan, Letcher Canning, Mar Hodge da Doris Nashanta. Be a Lethir hon Tahia El or na Ceoltarí, na Hauranihe, agus na Dausari traditiona is far in Éireann. Le Tractorat o Kiana Campbell, agus Jermit de Fuiche. Take out your fuel on Buxa Offige, or Steve Grayson na Herklania, na o Wild de Ranche Letcher Canning de Holtus.
Joe Gallagher Entertainment presents the Ultimate 70s Night, Sunday, October 26th. Get ready for Shawadi Wadi and the Bay City Rollers live at the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Sing and dance the night away to all the hits. Tickets on sale at ticketmaster.ie and hotel reception. Don't miss this unforgettable night, October 26th at the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny.
Highland Radio weather updates with Michael Hennies. Our Christmas shop has now opened for all your festive shopping needs. Explore our extensive range of decorations, bedding and more in our homeware department, in store or shop online at michaelhennies.com today.
Today's weather, a mix of scattered showers and sunny spells. Cloud with some outbreaks of rain will move up from the south towards nightfall. Highest temperatures of 9 to 13 degrees. Now, in August past this year, Councillor Brian Carr and his wife Marie were enjoying a happy day out at Tramore Beach between Ardra and Nairn when disaster unfortunately struck. Yesterday, the young men, Matthew Clerkin, Dalton Bracken, Turlock McDade and Joe Hearn, who saved the lives of him and his young son and niece after they were swept out to sea by a rip current, were honoured by Water Safety Ireland. I'm delighted now to be joined by Councillor Carr. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michaela. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, and it's great to see you as well. I know we talked very briefly at the time of this incident. So I suppose, Councillor Carr, take us back to that day as much as I suppose you want to.
Yeah, as you said, it was the 15th of August and it was a lovely day, and we just, our son Ben, who's 9, and we picked up his cousin Amelia, 10, and we headed for my wife Marie is from Rossbeg, so we headed out to Rossbeg, and just the kids normally just go to the beach in Rossbeg, which is beside Marie's home place, but we decided just for once we'd go to Tramore Beach. I haven't been there since I was a kid, and Marie hadn't been there in over 20 years, so we went to the beach. The kids headed for the water, and Marie went down with them. And Marie, from being beside the sea, she had known down through the years that Tramore, it wasn't the safest place, so she was beside them. And I was up the beach as usual on my phone, and next thing I headed walking down towards the sea, which was a long distance out, and I was just admiring the vastness of the beach and how quiet it was, and taking a few photographs. And the next thing the phone rang, and Marie says to me, the kids have just been swept away. Ben and Amelia have been swept out. So by the time I ran down and got out and into the water, when I was out as far as up to my neck, they were still 20, 30 metres further out. So I had to go off swimming, but the waves just kept putting me back. And they had, at this stage, gone out past the waves, and they were bobbing in the water. Amelia had a small board with her, and Ben was just treading water, and they were superb, I have to say. And I was shouting at them and talking, and they were asking, save me, Daddy, and help me, Brian, I can't hold on. And it was just tough, but I didn't panic, and that's the one thing I can remember.
And that's so important, to try and keep calm.
Yeah, but eventually I went down to a star shape on my back because I was out of energy, just to try and get some more energy. And then I could hear Ben saying, "Daddy, you're close to me now." So that made me go again. But I just ran out of energy, and I just couldn't keep going. And I remember saying to them, just whatever you see, you just keep going, because I knew I couldn't go anymore, and just didn't. So, and just out of the corner of my eye, then I seen this surfer, and I just shouted, "Get the kids!" And then I was just, how can I say, I was finished. I couldn't give any more. And with that, someone grabbed my shirt, and I don't remember anything then. The next thing I remember was being dragged up the beach, and by 4 strong young men, because I moved them all, and from then on, they had the wherewithal to put me into the recovery position. They worked on me, and then a doctor came along, medics, and then I was airlifted to Letterkenny, and where I spent 12 days in Letterkenny and 3 in Galway. But my wife Marie, who couldn't swim and hasn't, she was on the beach, and she was up to her chest, and she came back out, and she had the phones on the beach, and she was hoping they would work then. And so she had a real panic situation then, trying to ring the paramedics, and she was on the line for, I think it was 7 minutes or something, trying to explain where she was. And
just seeing all the events unfolding, it must have been so frightening for her.
Yeah, and thankfully, piecing it together afterwards with the lads, they were saying to us that the reason they were further up the beach, they were a couple of 100 meters away, but the reason they decided to head down is they seen the waves pick up.
Right.
So that's good. And they heard Marie screaming and shouting, and then they came over, and that's when they kicked into action. And they're the reason that I'm sitting here today talking to you. And as I said, I was struggling, and then Ben and Amelia were still there, and I don't know how long they would have been fit to continue, but only for the lads were there. And as I keep saying, they were the right people in the right place at the right time, because swimmers couldn't get in, but they had boards with them, which made the difference. They got out to us with the boards, because without the boards and without them and without the knowledge of the going around the current and all that.
It was amazing, because they spoke to Greg on the show after it, and it was amazing, as you mentioned, the knowledge they had of the water and knowing exactly, you know, where to go in and where to let the current carry them. And I suppose that is something that, you know, even if the emergency services were on the scene, but they knew exactly the way the water worked in the area.
Yeah, and it was Joe Hearn, their uncle, that kind of took them down for surfing lessons, and it was him that recognised that, so he sent them out around, and that was the that was the big factor, that they were able to go around and come across, and Matthew picked up Ben and Amelia, and I said again, Ben and Amelia were brilliant in the water, and then he spotted me and he pointed to Dulta, and Dulta came and got me then, and then Turlough came out and met a whole lot of us and took us all in, and thankfully yesterday we got a chance to, to give, to show our appreciation and to get them a bit of recognition and honour them for what they had done. As you said, the awards yesterday, the Irish Water Safety Awards in Dublin yesterday, which was a great day.
I'm sure it was emotional as well, was it, Brian?
It was a mixed day. It was emotional. It was joyful. We were full of pride looking up onto the stage, and it was happiness. It was just overall, it was a happy day, and like three nicer lads that was there. Joe unfortunately is living in the US.
Okay.
Three nicer lads you will never ever meet in your life. Marie and I were joking coming home yesterday evening, if you could choose anyone to be saved by, you couldn't pick three nicer fellas.
Yeah.
They're a credit to themselves and their families, and the schools and the communities. It's just we just can't express our enough gratitude and thanks to them for everything they've done for us.
Yeah, and the bravery of them themselves that day, as you said, going into the water. And I suppose, anybody maybe in that situation would do all they could as well to help someone.
Yes, they thought about it, for as they said, and speaking to them, they thought about it. Just they planned and bang, they went, and they never really thought for themselves. All they wanted to do was to get. They knew that we were so far out that if we didn't get help, that we were serious trouble, and they came out and they provided that help to us, and that's the reason that myself and Ben and Amelia are, and I'm going to have to say Marie too, because if they weren't there, Marie was going to try and do something to help as well. So Marie would have ended up going in, and it could have been only
Very
for them.
Situation.
Could have been a serious day, and so we got the awards, and I have to thank Kevin McCloskey and Jocelyn Cunningham, and Kevin received a 40-year award yesterday for volunteering with the water safety as well. So it was a good day all around.
Yeah. Well, Councillor Brian Carr, thank you so much for joining us. And I saw a picture of you up at a recent meeting or event, so it's great to see you back out. Thank you so much, and it was great to be able to honour the four involved yesterday. Thank you so much.
Michaela, thank you very much, and thank you, and see you at the meeting shortly.
Yeah, that is Councillor Brian Carr there, and as mentioned, Michaela Clarke and Dulta Bracken, Turlough McDade and Joe Hearn were honoured by Water Safety Ireland yesterday. There was a few others from Donegal, Kieran Mulroe, Pete Mason, Igor Birkin, and as well, the four that we had just mentioned there. So they're all honoured for their help in rescuing people from the water, and it's great to, I suppose, honour them and their efforts and show how important water safety is. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back again shortly.
Workwear, workwear, workwear at Borderland Muff. Winter jackets, fleeces and hoodies at Borderland Muff. For fashion jeans and waterproofs, Borderland Muff. Christmas and Ski Wear Club now open. Stock in Columbia, Apache, Snickers and more. Open 7 days and online at borderlandmuff.ie.
Shower, teeth, clothes, coffee, keys, car, drive, work. Shower, teeth, clothes, coffee, keys, car, drive, work. Shower, teeth, clothes, coffee, keys, car, drive, truck! You never know what's coming. Slow down on rural roads. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
Ensure the safety of your team with SafeTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, iPath MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SafeTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact safetech.ie today.
If you have a special occasion coming up, Watson Menswear stock a great selection of men's and boys' formal and casual wear. Top casual brands include Mishmash, French Connection, Tommy Bow and Penguin. Formal wear names include Rimazumo, Sixth Sense and White Label, with a special suit deal of a three-piece suit, shirt, tie and shoes, all for only €299. Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny and at watsonmenswear.com.
Everyone wants to start the new year on the right foot. At iMotors, we start with our foot on the accelerator. Welcome to 261 at iMotors. Available in the Kia lineup, we have the Kia Picanto, the new Stonic, the new K4 hatchback, Kia Niro, the Donegal best-selling car Kia Sportage, and the Kia Sorento, available in hybrid and diesel. 0% finance available, 3 years free servicing and a €500 super value gift card. And be entered into our exclusive iMotors €10,000 giveaway. Final day is the 23rd of December. Someone will win. Terms and conditions apply. iMotors, the fearless generation.
Ready to kick off your Christmas party season? Get the gang together for the big festive bingo party happening Saturday 29th of November at the Villa Rose Hotel, Ballabufay.
It's bingo, but not as you know it. Expect festive tunes, cocktails, daft games, plenty of laughs, and a €1,000 top cash prize.
Tickets are just €25 plus booking fee, and they're on sale now at Eventbrite or HighlandRadio.com.
So grab your friends, your workmates, or your whole office and make it your Christmas night out.
The big festive bingo party. It's bingo with a festive twist.
It's now 11 o'clock and time for the latest news headlines with Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Michaela. Good morning. Missing man Seamus Quinn may have travelled to Inishowen. Family friend Councillor Terry Crossan has appealed to the public to report any sightings of the 63-year-old or his car to the police or An Garda Síochána. Seamus drives a red Renault Kadjar with the registration of VNZ 7441. His exact clothing's unknown. However, he may be wearing grey and orange Brooks running shoes. An image of Seamus and his car is available on our website highlandradio.com. Letterkenny Milford Municipal District has approved its 2026 budget of €250,000 or €25,000 per member. Director of Finance Richard Gibson said the council will continue increasing the discretionary fund for members and maintain the recently introduced estate maintenance programme. Councillor Donald Coyle proposed the budget and it was seconded by Councillor Michael McBride. And the timing of the meeting ahead of the council's plenary budget session was again discussed, with Councillor Jerry McMonigal suggesting a delay to pressure the department to address the anomaly. Emergency services are attending the scene of a collision on the N56 in Corcreggan. The details of the incident are yet to be confirmed. More action is needed to make the Twin Towns fully accessible, according to Councillor Patrick McGowan. Speaking at a recent Lifford-Stranorlar Municipal District meeting, Councillor McGowan highlighted several problem areas in the town centre. He says 2 young people who use wheelchairs have been actively campaigning for improvements and commended the constructive way in which they have expressed themselves. And finally, the public are being advised to consider all healthcare options this October bank holiday weekend. The HSE warns that Letterkenny University Hospital's emergency department is expected to be very busy with long waits for non-emergency cases. NowDoc will be available by appointment and local pharmacies can provide expert advice. At the hospital, senior clinical decision makers will be on duty with additional non-consultant hospital doctors deployed to support patient flow and reduce delays in the ED. That's all for now from the newsroom. Back with more at 12 noon.
Thanks, Donna Marie.
Dad, how does Mommy know a superhero called Quiva?
Quiva, Aviva. Mammy got new home insurance from the superheroes at Aviva
Why are they superheroes at Aviva?
because they helped her save 20%.
For 20% off home insurance when you buy online, it takes Aviva. Offer available when you take out a new policy online. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Offer subject to minimum premium of €230 for home insurance, €115 for contents or buildings only. Home insurance is underwritten by Aviva Insurance Ireland DAC. Aviva Direct Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
And just to remind you, as Donna Marie had mentioned during the news headlines there's a crash on the N56 at the Corcragan Mill. Traffic is down to one lane and emergency services are understood to be en route there. Now, given that it's Wednesday, it is Wellness Wednesday, and multiple sclerosis is a chronic, often unpredictable disease that affects the central nervous system. And I'm joined now by Louise Pyre. Good morning to you, Louise.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Not at all. It's great to speak to someone. You were diagnosed with MS 10 years ago, so I suppose it's great to speak to yourself to get an understanding. How does it affect you daily, Louise?
So every day is different. So there might be one day you can do everything and anything that you want, and then there's days where there's stiffness or weakness, spasms. You know, it's so varied. There is no 2 days the same, or no two people the same.
And at what age were you diagnosed with it?
I was 32. It just coming up to my 30. Yeah, I was 32. It was just after the birth of my second son. So I had a 2-year-old at home and a newborn when I was diagnosed.
And were the symptoms leading up to that very debilitating for you? Did you know there was something wrong?
Oh, when I look back, I would have had issues, a few years previous or even longer than that. I had tests done for, say, carpal tunnel in my late teens, early 20s, and they were all negative. So it was just sort of put down to, it could be something or nothing. Wasn't followed up, and then after the birth of my first son, things weren't kind of right, but I was like, no, keep going. You're a new mum. This is things to expect, or you have fatigue, or you're so tired all of the time. It's just because you're looking after a newborn and coming to terms with how things are now. And then after Kieran was born in 2015, I just knew something was wrong because I couldn't physically hold him in my right arm without supporting it. And so you're trying to feed him, but you had to make sure there's a pillow underneath your arm on the couch or the chair, and or use your other arm to kind of support the arm. Just it was strange.
It must have been so difficult, as you've talked about there, being a new mum, and with that comes so many pressures in itself. You're recovering yourself, but to then be given this diagnosis, it must have been very hard to comprehend it and kind of plan your life now.
Yeah, it's very surreal, and it does take time to come to terms with it. I remember so after I had scans done, I then had to go back to the GP, and then they were telling me that there was something shown on the MRI, which was demyelination, but it could be any number of things. I remember, just tell me what it is. I need, don't leave me sort of hanging, because that's nearly worse, because your mind goes into overdrive. So the referral was sent to the neurologist. Then I had an 8-week wait to see him, and throughout that time I was like, what's going to happen? Am I going to end up in a wheelchair? What's going to, are the boys going to see me? Am I going to see the boys growing up? There's a lot went through my mind, and at times those little things keep coming up again, but you just, once you have the diagnosis, it does take a while to accept and to learn the new you, or what you can do, what limitations there is, or what you could do to help.
And is MS a disease or a condition that progresses quite quickly, or, you know, it's something that you just deal with throughout your life?
It can vary from person to person. So I was diagnosed with relapse and remitting MS. And on the day of diagnosis, I remember Dr. Coonan telling me that I was at high risk of fast progression. Okay. So we needed to start a DMT, a disease modifying drug, kind of, you know, more or less straight away. After some tests were done to try and knock it on its head. So the DMTs, all they do is stop progression, or try to stop progression. If you're on the right one, it can. Sometimes you have to try a few before you see a difference. So I'm currently on my third one.
Okay.
But then there's primary progressive MS and secondary progressive MS. So you can go from relapse and remitting into other stages.
Yeah, so it's just monitoring it very closely as the years go on. Is that the way it kind of is?
Yeah, regular scans, yearly appointments with the neurologist. You have a phone line for an MS. Well, I have in Mayo, we have Galway. So if there is anything that crops up, or if you aren't well, you can kind of run it past a nurse, and they'll take it from there. You know, if they think it is the MS, or like the heat can affect some people, so it kind of brings out symptoms on, but it's not actually a relapse.
And in terms of now moving forward, you're looking to raise awareness of hidden disabilities, so people like having conditions like yourself with MS, that they don't feel stigmatized. Is this something that you yourself have experienced a lot of?
Yeah, because the big comment from people is, but you look okay. And I'm like, yeah, but inside is a whole other ballgame. Because, you know, it is the nervous system, the myelin is stripped from the nervous system, and you can't just regrow it. Now, they are trying to research this, but like there's days where I might need to use a stick. You know, there's days where I might need to sit down more, or use the bathroom, you know. And when you go places or you're planning anything, it does take planning.
Yeah.
You can't just get up and go. The MS Ireland conference is coming up in November, so I'm sort of planning my days and meal prepping, you know, having an idea of what I'm going to do before it, and then have stuff in the house for when I come back, you know, because I will be tired, and I know I will.
And there's so many people out there with different illnesses and conditions that are in the same boat as this. You know, we were talking yesterday about, you know, parking bays, or earlier in the week, you know, disabled parking bays, but, you know, they're calling for sunflower parking to be rolled out because, you know, people with a hidden disability or different conditions.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, because you know, not everybody, the wheelchair bays sort of make people think you should be in a wheelchair to use this, or, you know, there's days where you might need closer access to a shop door or to a business, and there's days where you won't, and you know, it's just, but having more awareness around hidden disabilities is huge.
And as part of this awareness campaign, you're having an MS readathon.
Yeah, so I have been asked to be the MS readathon ambassador this year, which I'm over the moon to have been asked. And again, it's just about raising awareness, because there's over 11,000 people living with MS in Ireland, and the readathon, so you can actually look at the website, and it's msreadathon.ie. There you can go and register. It's open to the young, it's open to adults, book clubs, schools, businesses, you know, anyone or can take part in it.
And it's great, I suppose, as well, to get all, as you mentioned, young and old involved in this, and it raises greater awareness, and even, I'm sure, among, you know, your own children as well, to get involved in this. It's part of their life too.
It is, and they're very excited to take part. So the three of us are taking part. So there'll be a competition to see who's going to raise the most money, but they love reading anyway. So it's kind of like a joy for them to be doing two things at once, and they're getting a bit older and they understand things more about MS and how it may affect. But also they're telling their school friends, because the school is actually getting involved and they've registered all the classes, and then so they're being able to tell their friends all about it and why it's so important.
Yeah, and it's great just to raise so much awareness. For anybody else out there, Louise, that has multiple sclerosis, where would you direct them to the best point of contact for more information or support that you felt that you needed?
So definitely the first place I would go to is the ms-society.ie. It's the MS Ireland website. There you can find details on branches, because I know different parts of the country there's different branches. I'm involved heavily with the South Mayo branch, and there's Donegal. There is all over the country. There on the website you can also find out about your local community worker, who may be able to help you or guide you in different ways if you're newly diagnosed. And even if you're not newly diagnosed but have never reached out, the website is a really good place to start. And then again, just you can check out the msreadathon.ie for information on how you can help. So just as an example, on the website you can see what €25 would go towards, or €50. There's helpful resources on it and fundraising ideas.
Louise Pyer, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and all the very best with the Readathon. Thank you so much for helping us raise a bit of awareness. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We're going to take another quick break and we'll be back again in a couple of minutes.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Forward Festival presents The Big Hully, featuring Whistling Donkeys, All Folked Up, Derek Warfield and Young Wolf Tones, Danny Byrne Band and High Flying Paddies. Bank Holiday Saturday, 25th of October. The Marquee Letterkenny at Kiltoy. Tickets available from forwardfestival.ie.
There's a real autumn feel in Letterkenny. The perfect time to enjoy a coffee or explore your favourite shops. Discover more choice, more style and more to enjoy than ever before in Letterkenny. Brought to you by Shop LK.
Dad, who's Nissan?
Who?
Nissan. Uncle Pork said Nissan is a mighty deal on his cool new car.
Nissan. His new Nissan. Oh yeah, he did get a mighty deal.
Uncle Porg is right. Get 4K your way today. Choose a €4,000 finance contribution or a 4K trade-in bonus on a new Nissan. It's a mighty deal, however you say it. See nissan.ie for details. Nissan. Defy ordinary. Terms and conditions apply.
Join me, Marty Friel, every Friday from 8 for Rocking Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7. Book a Christmas party with a difference. Enjoy bowling, a buffet and a DJ every Friday and Saturday night this December. That's Arena 7 Bowling this Christmas.
It's colourless, it's odorless, it's hard to detect. So carbon monoxide deserves your respect. It could kill you stone dead in just 3 minutes flat. And if you don't believe me, ask me dear Uncle Posh. Tagging you. Coal, turf, oil, gas, even wood, any fuel can harm. So get yourself a carbon monoxide alarm, or you might just wake up dead.
This Halloween, Cost Cutter is full of frighteningly good value. Sink your teeth into O'Donnell's crisps, just €2. Creep away with a selected range of Swizzles and Haribo Minis and Cadbury's Treat Size from $2.50. And keep the fire burning with Zip Starter Logs, only €2. Cost Cutter, the beating heart of the community.
Shekelatha ama Highland Radio. Arna Dortugat ag Airgrid. Uproar agus Forbor an go letrahas na Héireann. Airgrid. Pobl a guachtu, era a guachtu. Teshe.
The time is now 16 minutes past 11. A message coming in. A big congratulations to Kevin Bradley and all the gang at Highland Bakery as they're celebrating 25 years in business today. A major achievement. So congratulations to all at Highland Bakery. Another listener says, what headspace are voters in? Why would we vote for a person who didn't attempt to make right a financial wrong for years, while we as lay people are fined and imprisoned for similar or less. Another listener says, we were talking about the bar of chocolate was over €2. Somebody else has said a bar of chocolate in Super Savers Buncrana is €1.29. So there you go. If you're on the hunt and don't want to pay over €2, you know where to go. Now, a review of the response to Storm Éowyn has been published by the National Directorate of Fire and Emergency Management. One of the recommendations includes the cancelling of events due to orange weather warnings. I'm joined by Alan O'Reilly of Carlow Weather. Good morning, Alan.
Good morning, Michaela.
So, Alan, is this something that you would agree with?
No, I'm not in really. I think, there could be some merit to the fact that outdoor events with temporary structures that, are not suitable for strong winds could be cancelled. But my main issue is that the system of weather warnings would have to be improved before anything like this would be done. So, for example, the fact that the weather warnings are only done county by county and not any more detail than that. So, for example, you can fit almost 6 County Louths into County Donegal, but yet we get a warning for Louth as an individual area. But the Donegal warning covers the whole of Donegal. And, I'm sure I don't need to tell your listeners how much the weather can vary from one part of Donegal to the other, especially from north to south.
And I suppose, it has to be considered as well. The weather warning, the wind and the rain doesn't just stop at that borderline. There is going to be an element of, Donegal picking up different weather from Sligo. It's not as simple as that.
Exactly. So I think if you look at, the UK Met Office who issued the warnings for Northern Ireland, it's done on a more graphical area, but especially when it's done across the water in, parts of England, the warnings are much more detailed that they use and they're much more granular. So, like Donegal, Galway, Cork, Kerry, these large counties, you would break it up into maybe north, south, east, west, even as a starting point. And the other thing is the warnings are upgraded very often, very late in the day. We saw that with the last warning with Donegal, with Storm Amy, like the red warning came very late in the day. Very often yellow warnings are upgraded to orange with only a couple of hours notice. So for event organisers, you can imagine if you have an outdoor event and you have a lot of people heading there and it's a yellow warning and they're going ahead, and then with less than maybe 3 or 4 hours notice, they're told it's an orange warning. Did they have to tell all those people now to turn away because it's being upgraded to orange?
And you'll understand the weather system a lot more than I do, Alan, but does that weather pattern change that quickly that, say you give the example there of Storm Amy, that we are only given the 2 hours notice for it to be upgraded to red?
Well, certainly the track of storms can change, and certainly you can see some, small last minute kind of changes in direction and track. That can happen. But generally speaking, I think, it's left too late in the day to make the call. I think, obviously 24 hours out, you could have changes, or maybe even 12 hours. But I think really changing warnings less than 12 hours from the time that they come into effect, it's very confusing for people. A lot of people will look at the weather forecast and they'll say it's a yellow warning or it's an orange warning, and they'll take that and they'll go about their business. And they're not checking back every 10 minutes to see has the warning upgraded. So I think there does need to be a lot more consideration given to that. One of the other big things is that comes out of this report, because this is obviously based on a review of Storm Éowyn, is the fact that communications, when there's power outages, power lines, phone lines, mobile ball lines go down, that local radio is absolutely the last saving grace, and FM is king. And I think there's a much bigger role there for, Met Éireann and the National the emergency system to use local radio to communicate to people a lot more in terms of these severe events.
Yeah, because we find it here as well, we might have power outages locally, but thankfully we're able to remain on air, and even aside from weather events, we are, the point of contact for a lot of elderly or more vulnerable people. And, they need that information, as you said there, to be prepared, to know that the red weather alert's coming into force, that they can take their own precautions at home. And I suppose for us, we receive an email into the newsroom, but, yeah, I suppose having better communication and, making sure we've received those messages and, that, say, different ads are being rolled out to ensure we can get the information out as quickly and as widespread as possible.
Yeah, absolutely, because local radio is the last lifeline. From tuning in to see your school closed on a snow day to knowing whether it's a red warning, and we kind of, I suppose, a lot of people have moved on to rely on their mobile phone, and Storm Aon showed how that's all fine when things are working, but when the mobile generators at the mast go down, and you now go blind in terms of mobile phone coverage, internet coverage, and power, it's really the old FM radio that is the most reliable. And there's a lot of learnings to be made. The problem in Ireland, I think we have a history of writing great reports, and then we're very slow to implement the findings of it.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things in this report. It's over 100 pages. One aspect is that the orange warning would cancel events, but there's a lot of other things in there that need to be done too. And I hope it's not a knee-jerk reaction to just implement this one because it might sound like an easy one to do.
And I suppose, the time really is of the essence. We're seeing more and more storms and more severe weather events that, action does need to be taken immediately in relation to this.
It really does. And I think the power infrastructure is something that a lot of people, are very worried about. Every time there's a storm now, I know people that contact me, especially from the west of Ireland, that were hit worse by Storm Aon. They get PTSD and they get very worried about what's going to happen when there's another storm. Because some people were without power for over a week. And in fairness to the ESB crews, the work they do is absolutely amazing. But they need assistance. They need more tree cutting. They need more network upkeep that's around the network. And the other thing is we have to remember, we're talking about weather warnings here. We still have no flood warning system. That's still to come. So, an orange rainfall warning on top of a yellow rainfall warning on top of a week's worth of rain could have absolutely catastrophic impacts in flooding. And we've seen that in Donegal before, where there's been some severe flooding events, and we still don't have a flood warning system, even though it was first announced in 2016. So we're coming up next year on 10 years from the time it was announced that we're going to get a flood warning system.
Yeah, and that's so important because, as you mentioned there earlier, we hear yellow weather warning, we think we can still go on and about, but as you referenced, that's just a build-up of rain, particularly in areas that are so prone to flooding. That is severe cause for concern. And you mentioned even the PTSD. People hear any type of rainfall in particular areas, they do live in fear that their homes or businesses will be flooded. So that is very important.
It really is. And the most annoying point is that Met Éireann do now have a flood forecasting team. They do produce forecasts, but they're not shared to the public. They are shared with the local authorities, but local authority, the very senior management in local authorities around the country have told me they're not the best place to share that information. That people expect to get warnings for rainfall for flooding from Met Éireann. They're not expecting the county council to issue a flood warning. And with the best will in the world, the council are, only so much that they can do in terms of resources as well. So we really need to get a national flood warning system that takes into account the rainfall, the water levels, and, puts that together. And it's something that has been done in many other countries. Again, the UK Met Office have a very good flood warning system they work with. The problem in Ireland seems to be Met Éireann and OPW. I've been sent from one to the other for about the last 5 years trying to get updates on the flood warning system. We don't seem to have somebody that's actually in charge of reaching it. There's a joint kind of operation there, and that's great that they work together. But somebody needs to take the lead and somebody needs to start sharing that information.
Yeah. And Alan, do you think the criteria for the different level of warnings now that is in place, like the yellow, orange and red, does that need to be reviewed?
I think we need to move to the impact-based system that they use in the UK. Like in Ireland, now they are moving to it, they say, and they do take the impacts into account. But in the UK, they use the system where, the time of the day, the likely weather, the time of the year. For example, when we get Storm Amy and all the leaves are still on the trees, you're going to have a bigger impact than if you get the same wind speeds 2 months later when there's no leaves on the trees. And if that storm's coming, at the middle of the afternoon when children are being picked up from school and people are commuting, that has a much bigger impact than if it happens overnight when most people are asleep. So we have to move to an impact-based system because it's almost too like, okay, it has to be over 130 kilometres an hour to be red, the gusts. But if the forecast is 120 for 3 o'clock in the day, versus 150 at 3 a.m. in the morning, the impact to people can be very different.
Yeah, absolutely. Alan O'Reilly of Carla Weather, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And it's a very interesting report. And I suppose a lot of people, as Alan was saying there, taking that impact base scenario, if we've had a severe storm here in Donegal and then a couple of weeks later we have a lesser storm, it's the impact of the damage that has already been caused by the strong winds, and unfortunately we're subjected to a lot of them nowadays.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Autumn is here and so is your last chance to save. The Easy Living Furniture Oktoberfest sale has been extended until Sunday. Enjoy amazing reductions across every department, from comfortable sofas and luxurious mattresses to elegant dining sets and on-trend accessories. Now's the perfect time to give your home a cosy autumn makeover. Sale must end this Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, presently Retail Park, Derry.
Discover Centra Simple Savers, your haunt for fantastic everyday value. Like Lucozade 6-bottle pack range, €4 plus deposit. Selected Cadbury pouches like Twirl Bites, $2.50 each. And Dada and Connoisseur wine ranges, €8 each. Enjoy frightfully good value on all your favourites. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
When it's gone, it's gone. This week's new Wigging at Home Store and More. All baking trays and tins are all half price. But better hurry, because when all our half-price baking trays and tins are gone, they're gone. Also, all clothes hangers and all living room throws are still half price. But when our clothes hangers and living room throws Wiggings are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure Main Street Letterkenny. Just launched at BMC Sports is the new ASICS GT 2014. Offers pure gel technology and FF foam for that springy feel. New range of Kayano, Nimbus and Nova Blast for men and women. In-store and online. Get your safe size experience at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street Letterkenny. Or click on bmcsports.ie. Get your ASICS delivered free of charge. Christmas Club now open.
You know the way your energy bill turns up, and you start doing maths you haven't touched since the Leaving Cert? Yeah, not with Energy. With Energy, you get monthly bill predictions, track what you're using by the hour, and even see where you're overspending. It's the tumble dryer. It's always the tumble dryer. With Energy, it's all in the app. Simple as. So instead of guessing, you're actually managing your energy. Energy. You just know. ROI only. 18 plus. T's and C's apply. See unoenergy.ie.
Experienced project managers, site foremen and site engineers are wanted for civil engineering works on the islands in the Caribbean. Flights, accommodation and vehicle will be covered in the package. Tax-free salary will be based on experience. Send CVs to skelly at sknconstruction.com. Part of the Kelly Group of Companies.
Now, I am joined in studio by Chris Ashmore, presenter of Business Matters. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Michaela.
How are you today?
Very good. Nice day.
Yeah,
nice
it's brightened up.
autumnal day. Yes,
yeah, it wasn't
indeed.
great this morning, but
No.
It's lovely now. So what is happening this week in the world of business?
Well, just to start off, a couple of local events that may be of interest. There's a Business Watch seminar in Dillon's Hotel in Letterkenny this evening at 6 o'clock, hosted by Letterkenny Chamber. The guest speaker will be Sergeant Fergus McGrory, who's the Crime Prevention Officer here in Donegal. So in the lead up to Christmas, businesses very busy, and he'll have some tips on many little simple crime prevention measures that you can take, because unfortunately we see a spike in shoplifting, and there is more crime around Christmas, including break-ins as well. So that's on at 6 this evening. You can register by text or WhatsApp. The number is 087 213 0495. That's 087 213 0495 for that. And speaking of events locally, tomorrow there's a business breakfast being promoted by Letterkenny Chamber and Líonra Letterkenny, and it's taking place in Kernan's Bistro from 8:30 in the morning there in Letterkenny to 10 o'clock, and there'll be examples of how a number of local companies have brought Irish into their business and used it. Might be just
Letterkenny is a Gaeltacht town, isn't it?
well, the whole Líonra Letterkenny, they're really promoting the town, and you know, there's examples of people it could be just initially starting with signs, greeting people, and just making people know that you can speak Irish there. So examples of success stories, and also information on the grants available. So no fluency is needed, so don't let that put you off if you don't have Irish. So just come along, and that's at 8:30 in Kernan's Bistro in Letterkenny, and they're expecting a good crowd for that. Yeah.
Great. And the National Lottery has been hitting out at the sale of scratch cards to under-18s.
Yes, now they have done a survey on a number of occasions because it's illegal for under-18s to buy scratch cards. They have noted significant progress on this issue, but say more needs to be done. Sounds like a party political broadcast, that. So they did a test survey, sending out people. 562 retail premises were visited by these mystery shoppers who were boys and girls aged between 15 and 17 years old. Now, 72% of them were denied a sale when attempting to buy a €1 scratch card, but 28% were successful, which is still quite a high number. So they're monitoring that and trying to reduce the number of under-18s who are getting scratch cards because it is illegal. Meanwhile, the annual report shows that sales of National Lottery tickets reached €855 million last year. That was up.
So they're funding well, their prize pots?
They certainly are. That was up, about 30 million on the previous year. So quite significant. And it's...
And their advertising is obviously very strong, because I wouldn't be a lotto ticket purchaser that often, but you do be tempted whenever, you know, the jackpot is whatever, and that you have so many chances of winning, but I never win.
Yeah, well, somebody has to win. It could be you.
Me.
Yeah, it could be you.
So what's coming up, Chris, this week on Business Matters?
Right, well, in the Business Matters this week, three-pronged approach. First of all, looking at a number of business clinics that are going to come next month here in the county. Now, Donegal County Council's Tourism Unit, together with Fulcher Ireland and Local Enterprise Office, they've joined forces to have 5 business clinics. There'll be one held in each municipal district council area. And it's really geared at people who maybe are thinking of something in the tourist field, or maybe already have something and want to expand. So this is an opportunity to meet people in the sector. Lots of advice will be available at these clinics, and also information about the funding supports that are available, and there are considerable funding. And of course, great opportunities in the tourism sector at the moment. So to find out more, I've been speaking with Mary Fowley-Daly, who's the Senior Tourism Development Officer with Donegal County Council, and she's been explaining what the thinking is behind this initiative.
The thinking behind them was Fulch Ireland would have in the past had held business clinics with the industry here in Donegal, and indeed ourselves in Donegal County Council, Donegal Tourism would have had different events meeting the industry in the county. But this is the first time that collectively Fulch Ireland, Donegal County Council's Tourism Unit and the Local Enterprise Office have come together to have these business clinics in the different municipal district areas. And what we're looking for is people to explore their tourism business idea, you know, in partnership with the different sectors that are there on the evening. So we're inviting people to come along. They're free. You can book a 30-minute information session where you can share your business ideas with the tourism officers that will be there on the night. And also you can learn about the supports that are there for the industry from the Local Enterprise Office. And then I suppose the next steps that you can take in order to advance your tourism idea.
This is great because Donegal has become such a staycation destination, and it's given people the opportunity. They might have had this idea, and I suppose, you know, Donegal County Council's Tourism Office and Fulcher Ireland and local enterprise, the local enterprise office will help them explore that and see if it is a viable idea.
Absolutely. In particular, since COVID, when a lot of people from down south discovered Donegal, many of them coming back, so the domestic market is thriving. And interestingly, during our discussion, we were talking about golf, which is a very important and lucrative sector of the tourism market. But the big increase last year was visitors from Canada.
Oh.
So not as many Canadians going to the United States, where there's been a little bit of friction.
And imagine the journey they'd have to undertake to get here.
Well, there's direct flights. There's been an increase in the number of direct flights, and that's been the big growth market. So that's interesting to note. But yeah, there's lots of opportunities out there. People in the sector are upbeat about the future. And even at the moment, we're in the shoulder period of the season. There's a promotion on encouraging people to come to Donegal. And especially the outdoor-related events and activity events, there's been a big spike in
because the weather isn't too bad to be out and about.
And as Mary Fowley-Daly says, you know, years ago the weather was seen as an obstacle, more so from Irish and British people. But if you have the right clothing on, and listen, it's hard to beat being on a beach
always discuss this.
on a wild day with the dog.
Yeah, wrapped up well. And yeah, I just can't deal with the wind and the rain together. But I love going out, big massive umbrella, and it nearly pouring down. I love it.
Yeah, well, I can see if it's windy, the umbrella is going to be off away down the beach.
I was actually out walking one day, and I was wearing a baseball cap, and I had an umbrella, and I had the dog, and the cap blew off. I was trying to get the dog, run after the hat, and keep the umbrella, and a good man came to my rescue then, ran after the hat for me.
Did it go viral on YouTube?
No, thankfully not. But yeah, I leave the hat at home now, or wear one that I know won't fly off the top of my head. So Chris, where can people tune in to Business Matters?
Well, it's on Sunday after the 6 o'clock news. The podcast will also be going out shortly, and also in the programme this week, looking at the Letterkenny Chamber Awards. They're just around the corner. They're being staged next month. A big night there. I've been speaking with Tony Forrester, the CEO of Letterkenny Chamber, and also talking about Halloween Fest, which again is an initiative here in Letterkenny, which is helping local businesses. And I have also a little bit about a Mallinhead teenager, 17-year-old Sean McGonigal, who works along with his father, John McGonigal, of Wild a Pack Away, actively involved in social media, and he's now starting his own little support enterprise for people who want advice on where to go in terms of getting the word out there online. So good luck to him, showing plenty of initiative.
17-year-old would be great to have that, them brains at 17 maybe to do something like that. Great. And the Halloween Fest is always brilliant here in Letterkenny as well. And it's great to see, you know, we have Derry, the European capital, but it's great to see different towns bringing forward their own initiatives.
Halloween has become a really big thing now, so it's a boost for local businesses, and we might get a little slight dip in November. We've got Black Friday to look forward to, and before long,
yeah, all
Christmas.
happening. Great. Chris Ashmore, presenter of Business Matters, thank you very much for calling in. So now some more of your comments. We were talking as Chris was discussing how Christmas is coming down the tracks, and we were talking earlier about the cost of food. So a listener says, I paid €5.24 the other day for a bottle of Coke. Was this a 500ml or 2 litre? That's huge, but even the normal standard small personal bottles have gotten very, very expensive. In relation to the election, just wondering what way the voting register is monitored. As a person that has the disease for 5 years, that is disease for 5 years, getting a voting card. I'm not sure what you mean in relation to deceased for 5 years, getting a voting card. Yeah, I presume that, you know, the register would be alerted to how, you know, and that person would have been removed. But maybe if you contact the Electoral Commission, they could help you in relation to that, because I'm sure it's not a nice thing to receive as well in the post. In relation to the riots, absolutely disgraceful behaviour. Anyone who justifies that type of behaviour or these actions should be ashamed of themselves. Last night's violence not only distracts from the systemic failures in child welfare, but also shifts focus away from the government's role in importing asylum-related crime. I don't condone rioting, but civil unrest occurs in every country, a listener says, when people are repeatedly ignored by the government. To get to this point, there have been countless failures of government, including failure to deport a failed asylum applicant, failure to provide safety for a child. Yeah, I think that other listener who was saying that the violence distracts from the failures in terms of child welfare and the government's role in the asylum situation that we have here, that, you know, we need better communication and we need people within different realms to get on board and have a better conversation, because, you know, the resources are being used up by the Gardaí, and then the government are coming out to condemn the riots, but we obviously want action instead. In relation to the presidential election, we need to remember any of Jim Gavin's votes can and probably will be transferred to Heather Humphreys. I suppose, will the voters, after Jim Gavin pulling out of the campaign, will they instead now give Heather Humphreys their government vote? We'll know on Saturday, hopefully. Hi Highland, anyone I am chatting to has to rebuild their home is out 40, 50, 60, 80,000 euro of their own money. It's a complete disaster for people. This would only happen in Ireland. It's a huge cost. We were chatting to Damien Dowds earlier, and he said, you know, they've had to put their own money into rebuilding their home, and even though, you know, the home's been rebuilt, they're still dealing with this scheme and waiting for regulation changes, and there just seems to be no end. And he highlighted as well how slow the process is and the very few homes that have been fully remediated to date.
Join EirGrid, the operator and developer of the electricity grid, on Thursday, November the 6th at the Central Hotel in Donegal Town from 6:15 to 8:30pm for the EirGrid Energy Citizens Roadshow. This free event will provide information about home energy efficiency upgrades, retrofitting grants, community microgeneration schemes, and the future of energy in Donegal. To register for the roadshow, visit airgrid.ie/roadshows. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland.
For your business, order branded diaries now at BizPrint. Call 9177955 or visit bizprint.ie. BizPrint, for all your promotional needs.
For all your training needs, Northwest Forestry Services Training Department Ballybuffet offer a wide range of courses from training bodies such as NPTC City and Guilds, QQI, LADRA and ABA International. Courses include all land-based services such as chainsaw, tree climbing and rescue, pesticides, working in heights and ATV training. Other courses offered include first aid responder, manual handling and building safety, to name but a few. For a full list of training courses and availability, contact Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet on 074 9132033.
Is your couch older than your Spotify playlist? Is your dining table wobblier than your uncle at a wedding? If so, it's time for an upgrade at Grove Furnishings, Kiltoy Road, Letterkenny, the largest furniture store in the Northwest. From stylish sofas to elegant beds, from floor covering to occasional pieces, we've got you covered. And we offer free delivery within 80 kilometres. Grove Furnishings. Seriously good furniture.
The effects of personal debt problems often go beyond just financial. What we don't want to face can cause us to unravel. Stress eats at you, relationships unwind. It can feel like life's falling apart, but support is available. Get back on track with the Insolvency Service of Ireland, an independent organisation that helps untangle personal debt problems. See backontrack.ie. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Our Christmas shop has now opened for all your festive shopping needs. Explore our extensive range of decorations, bedding and more in our homeware department, in store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Today's weather, a mix of scattered showers and sunny spells. Cloud with some outbreaks of rain. It will move up from the south towards nightfall. Highest temperatures today of 9 to 13 degrees with light to moderate southerly or variable winds. Now, there appears to be an issue with Google Maps and how it is directing people when they're travelling through Donegal. This has happened to me as well in parts of West Donegal. It's taken me on the narrowest of roads. But the concern is that, you know, it's taken people off the main primary roads, and you know there's tourists coming to the county as well. Councillor Gary Doherty from the Lifford Northern Municipal District is calling for a review of this. I spoke to him a little earlier. So, Councillor Gary Doherty, you're calling for the operation of Google Maps to be looked into. I suppose we'll start how this came about for yourself.
Yeah, so really what the issue is that what we've noticed is that vehicles that are travelling from the Donegal town direction towards the Twin Towns and that are heading through the Twin Towns towards Letterkenny, that when this route is typed into Google Maps, that Google Maps is not taking the cars down through the Twin Towns as would be normal practice, but instead it's taking them left across Capri and then across Lowe's Bridge. And this is having real world consequences because obviously having vehicles being taken from the national primary road onto regional and local roads is not ideal, and that's not the ideal route that we want these vehicles travelling through our district. These roads are not designed for the heavy amount of traffic that they're currently seeing, and this is a real world issue that's coming about because of this issue with Google Maps.
And you mentioned there Lowe's Bridge, and we've talked about this many times that, you know, works do need to be carried out in this, that it's not even fit for purpose for the use of locals.
Yeah, look, Lowe's Bridge is something that members in the Lifford Northern Municipal District have been raising for a long number of years. We know that there are issues with Lowe's Bridge, and until those issues are resolved, we need to be mitigating against any further pressures that are put in the bridge. And I think particularly when we look at the volume of traffic that's being sent down that road, probably unintentionally by Google Maps, because look, we know that when you're driving along in the car and you've got a destination in Google Maps and Google Maps is telling you to turn left, that 8 or 9 times out of 10 the driver is going to follow the instructions that Google Maps gives them. So that means that these drivers are being unintentionally taken down this route and taken over Lowe's Bridge, and that's not ideal. That's not what we want. We want these vehicles. That's not the route that we want these vehicles taken. Ideally, they stay on the main road, and that Lowe's Bridge and local and regional roads will be mainly used by locals who know the area. That's the volume of traffic that these roads were designed for, not the volume of traffic that we're currently seeing.
And I suppose there's a road safety issue and another element as well, because people are unfamiliar with these roads, and if they're travelling under the dark of night, it's very difficult for them to navigate as well.
Yeah, and look, when we look at the whole system of roads that we have, obviously national primary roads are roads that get the most funding from central government. They're looked after by the TII, so they're outside of Donegal County Council remit. And the reason that the national primary roads get the majority of funding is because that's where the majority of traffic travels on. So we see the majority of cars travelling on the national primary routes because they are the arterial routes in and out of County Donegal and indeed the rest of the counties across Ireland. Local and regional roads don't have the same amount of funding, and they don't have the same amount of funding for road safety aspects. For example, what was raised yesterday at the MD meeting was the issue of speeding, and speeding is something that, look, we would see go safe bans and traffic speed checks on the national primary roads far more often than we would on local and regional roads. And again, that highlights the whole issue that if Google Maps is telling cars to come down local and regional roads instead of using the national primary route, then that's something that we need to be engaging with Google on and asking them to update their software to prevent this.
And you said you raised it there with the council. Are they willing now to contact Google, or what does that process look like?
Yeah, look, I suppose this is uncharted territory for everybody, because this is an unusual situation, and I acknowledged that yesterday when I spoke on this, that this is it's something that, look, if you heard somebody chatting about it, you think that's not such a big deal at all, but it really is. It's having real world consequences, and look, I think it's important that the council do try and make contact with Google and try and look. The only thing that we can do is try and change where the root cause of this problem is, and the root cause is coming from the algorithm in Google Maps that's telling cars to drive over, take a left at Capri and drive over Logs Bridge instead of going through the Twin Towns. And look, there are many. There would be many benefits from the vehicles travelling on down through the towns, that they may stop for a coffee or buy tea or whatever. So look, it's really important, look, that we just get this simple thing fixed, and hopefully the council writing to Google and working with Google that we can get the problem fixed.
Is that something you've experienced in your area, or maybe you've travelled in other parts of the country? I know navigation systems tend to pick the fastest route, but as Gary was highlighting there, it's not often the safest route or the most feasible route to be taking traffic through. And he highlighted there at the end of the piece how, say, for example, in Ballybofey, the main street's missing out on that through traffic that's coming from other parts of the country, coming from Donegal town, etc. And, they're missing out on that economic benefit as well. To some now of your comments from a couple of issues that we were discussing earlier in the week. Money for unneeded cycle lanes in Letterkenny, yet none for the badly needed bridge at Bunagee. It has been argued that the traffic issues within Letterkenny will not be addressed until, huge investment from government is forthcoming to get relief roads and get the Bunagee Bridge in place, and that we're going to have to just deal with the traffic until that investment is made in the town. Another listener says they have Letterkenny destroyed. It's a complete disaster to get around. It stopped going to shop in it, and hundreds are like me. I have heard on so many occasions people, going to come into Letterkenny and they hit the 4 lanes or they hit the dual carriageway and just the traffic. They don't have the time, if they're coming in now quickly, to sit in the traffic and then potentially sit in the traffic coming back out. And I had asked a local business owner recently in Letterkenny, I think they're based in the Main Street area, has the ongoing traffic works affected them? They says that they've been absolutely dead. Now, I don't know what the situation is like now, but this was last week, and they were saying, they're trying to pay their employees, and then, maybe they'll get a few pound at the end of the week for themselves. But it is having a huge impact on shops and businesses within the town. But then on the other hand, it can be argued that we need these investments, we need these works carried out, such as the active travel plan, that in the long term it will hugely benefit the town. Another listener says the active travel plan for Ballymacool is a good one and 30 years overdue. However, the residents there were arguing that they're going to lose the parking outside their home. They'll have to walk from a designated parking area, and there's some people who have mobility issues, have a disability, that they do need the parking right outside their property, and that simply won't work. Another listener says, seems to be that Sinn Féin is a new Green Party in Letterkenny. They want us to abandon our only means of transport and start walking or cycling. Let the Letterkenny Sinn Féin councillor, this listener says, be the first to abandon his car and lead the way to see if the sheep will follow. There was an argument at last week's meeting of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District about the ongoing active travel plans here in Letterkenny. The works are ongoing, and it had caused huge delays on one particular day. But Councillor Jeremy McMonigal had argued, that we need to do these works to improve access within the town, and that, the funding's there, that we need to keep developing it. Another listener says, in relation to Councillor Gary Doherty there, well said, Councillor Doherty. As a resident on the road up past Logs Bridge, it's a nightmare, the volume of traffic that's on it. The speed of the traffic is shocking. It's an accident waiting to happen. This road from Capri, Logs Bridge, Kelly's, Bottling, Letterkenny to Drumkeen is a new bypass of the Twin Towns. It needs to stop. Another listener says the opposition has 102 Dáil and Seanad seats. The government has 127. You need 20 seats to nominate a presidential candidate, but the opposition only nominate one. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael don't control all councils, many of which didn't nominate a candidate. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are a minority in Donegal County Council, but no candidate was nominated. Yet it's claimed it was Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael's fault that there weren't more candidates. It was my understanding that the whole council, all members had to agree to hold, to let potential candidates represent themselves to the council. So I'm not sure that it was just Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael that blocked that. Anyway, that's it for today's 9 till noon show. My thanks to Caroline Orr and to Shannon Wilkin for all their help on this show. Greg will be back tomorrow morning, and John Breslin is coming up on Around the Northwest just after the headlines. Good morning.
At